Hi everyone, I'm Olivia Thompson. I'm a 28-year-old graphic designer, and up until recently, I thought I had it all. I had a cozy home in the suburbs, a handsome husband named Ethan, and a picture-perfect life. At least, that's how it looked on the outside. Ethan and I had been married for 3 years, and I really believed we were living the dream. But you know how people say love is blind? That was me. I was so caught up in the idea of our perfect life that I didn't notice the cracks starting to show. Olivia, did you reorganize my desk again? Ethan would ask, sounding a little irritated. I just thought it would help you find things easier, I'd reply, trying to keep things peaceful. I had a system. Don't touch my stuff without asking next time, he'd snap. It started with small things like that, little comments here and there. Ethan always wanted to know where I was or who I was talking to, but I brushed it off, thinking it was just his way of caring. Then, there was my mother-in-law, Margaret. Oh, Margaret, where do I even start? Olivia, dear, don't you think it's time you focused more on keeping a proper home? She'd say during her weekly visits, glancing at the pile of sketches on my desk. I'm working on a big project, Margaret. The house is clean enough. Well, I suppose if you think so, but don't you agree that Ethan deserves a tidy home to come back to? She'd add, making me grit my teeth. I'd just nod and try to keep the peace for Ethan's sake, but it wasn't easy. Thank goodness for my best friend, Zoe. She's a kick-ass lawyer who always had my back. Liv, you know you don't have to put up with Margaret's nonsense, right? She'd tell me during our coffee dates. I know, but it's important to Ethan. I want to make it work. Zoe would give me that look, part concern, part girl, you're crazy. My parents, Jack and Linda, were always my support system. When things got tough, I knew I could count on them. Sweetie, are you sure everything's okay with Ethan? Mom would ask during Sunday dinners. It's fine, Mom, we're just adjusting. Dad would squeeze my hand, his eyes full of worry. You know you can always come home if you need to, right? I'd laugh it off and tell them everything was fine, but deep down, I wondered if they could see something I couldn't. Then, the day came when I found out I was pregnant. I was thrilled. I really thought this would bring Ethan and me closer, maybe even make Margaret a bit softer toward me. Ethan, I have amazing news, I said, bursting into his study, holding the pregnancy test. He looked up from his computer, his face unreadable. What is it, Olivia? I'm kind of busy. I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby. For just a moment, I saw something flash across his face. Was it joy? Or maybe panic? I couldn't quite tell what Ethan was feeling, but then he smiled, stood up, and hugged me. That's wonderful, honey, he said, though his tone didn't quite match his words. I tried to push away the nagging feeling inside. This was supposed to be a happy moment, right? Things would get better now, at least, that's what I thought. Oh, how wrong I was. I figured that telling everyone about the baby would make things better, but I was way off. When I told Ethan's mother, Margaret, the news, her reaction was as cold as an Alaskan winter. Oh, well, I suppose congratulations are in order, she said, her lips tight like she'd just tasted something sour. I do hope you're ready for this, Olivia. Motherhood isn't for the faint of heart. I forced a smile, trying to hide how disappointed I felt. I'm sure, with family support, we'll manage just fine. Margaret just huffed and muttered something about modern women thinking they can have it all. As the weeks passed, Ethan became more distant. He'd come home late, barely say a word to me, and spent his weekends with his mother instead of helping me get ready for the baby. One night, I finally confronted him. Ethan, can we talk? I feel like you've been avoiding me lately. He barely looked up from his phone. What? No, I've just been busy with work. You're being oversensitive. Oversensitive? Ethan, I'm pregnant with your child, and you're acting like I don't even exist. He finally put his phone down, but his eyes were cold. Look, Olivia, I'm doing my best here. What more do you want from me? Tears started to fill my eyes. I want my husband back. I want us to be excited about this baby together. Ethan just sighed and walked out of the room, leaving me feeling more alone than ever. Things reached a breaking point one evening when I overheard Ethan and Margaret talking in hushed voices in the kitchen. My heart pounded as I crept closer to listen. Mom, I don't know what to do. I never wanted kids, you know that, Ethan was saying. Margaret's voice was sharp. Well, it's too late for that now, isn't it? Unless what? Ethan asked. Unless we find a way to get rid of her, Margaret suggested. I gasped, shocked by what I was hearing. Without thinking, I burst into the kitchen, startling them both. "Get rid of me? Is that what you want, Ethan?" I shouted, my voice trembling with anger and hurt. Ethan's face went pale. "Olivia, you weren't supposed to hear that." "Oh, I'm sorry, was I just supposed to sit quietly while you plotted behind my back?" Margaret stepped forward, her eyes burning with anger. "Now, Olivia, let's not be dramatic, we were simply discussing options." "Options? I'm carrying your grandchild, and you're talking about me like I'm just a problem to be solved?" I shouted, hurt and angry. Ethan suddenly slammed his fist on the counter. "Enough, you want the truth? Fine, I never wanted this baby. Olivia, you trapped me." His words hit me like a physical blow. "Trapped you? We're married, Ethan, we talked about having kids." "No," he snapped, "you talked about it. I just nodded along to keep you happy, but I'm done pretending." Tears were streaming down my face. "So what, you want me to leave, is that it?" Margaret's voice was cold as ice. "I think that would be best for everyone, don't you?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You can't be serious, Ethan, please tell me you don't agree with this." But the look in his eyes told me everything I needed to know. Without saying another word, I ran upstairs and started throwing things into a suitcase. As I was heading back downstairs, Ethan blocked my way. "Where do you think you're going?" he demanded. "Away from you," I spat. "Isn't that what you wanted?" He grabbed my arm, gripping it tightly. "You're not taking anything, get out now." I pulled my arm free, shocked by his aggression. "Fine, keep it all, I don't want anything from you." As I walked out the door, I heard Margaret's voice behind me. "Don't come crawling back when you realize you can't handle this on your own." The door slammed shut, and just like that, I was alone, pregnant, with nowhere to go, standing on the sidewalk. As my world fell apart around me, I realized this was only the beginning of my fight. I went to my parents' house, tears running down my face. When I knocked on the door, I barely managed to say, "Mom, Dad, I need help." They didn't hesitate to take me in. Once I settled into my old room, my mom gently asked, "Sweetie, what happened?" Through my sobs, I told them everything. My dad's face turned red with anger. "That no good son of a Jack," Mom warned, though I could see she was furious too. The next day, I called Zoe. As soon as she answered, she said, "Liv, oh my God, I'm coming over right now." When she arrived, Zoe was all business. "Okay, we need to document everything, dates, times, witnesses if possible." "But Zoe," I said, "I don't want to cause trouble, I just want to move on." She grabbed my hands. "Olivia, listen to me, this isn't just about you anymore, it's about protecting those babies." I nodded, realizing she was right. Over the next few weeks, we built a file, every nasty text, every witness to Margaret's behavior, and every example of Ethan's controlling nature. In the meantime, I threw myself into freelance work. Then one day, I got a call from a major tech company. "Miss Thompson, we'd like to offer you a contract for our rebranding project." I nearly dropped the phone. This was huge. "Yes, absolutely, thank you so much," I replied, trying to stay calm. As my belly grew, so did my determination. At my 20-week scan, the technician smiled and said, "Congratulations, it's twins." I laughed through happy tears. "Two? Oh my goodness." But my joy didn't last long. Zoe called me, her voice tense. "Liv, you need to see this," she said and sent me a screenshot of Ethan's social media post. It read, "Heartbroken. My wife has abandoned our marriage and our unborn child. Please respect our privacy during this difficult time." I felt sick. How can he lie like this? Zoe's voice was firm. "Don't worry, we'll use this against him later." As my due date approached, I overheard my parents talking. My mom sounded worried. "Jack, what if Ethan tries to take the babies?" "Over my dead body," my dad growled. I stepped into the room. "He won't. I won't let him." The day I went into labor, I was terrified but ready. After 18 grueling hours, I heard the most beautiful sound, my daughter's cries. "Hello, Lily, hello, Rose," I whispered as I held them close. Weeks passed, and I started settling into motherhood. One night, while feeding Rose, I got a text from an unknown number. "It's Mike from Ethan's office, you need to know something." Intrigued, I called him back. "Mike, what's going on?" His voice was low. "Olivia, the company is cooking the books. Ethan's right in the middle of it. I can't be part of this anymore." I felt a mix of shock and satisfaction. Mike, I need you to tell me everything. Over the next hour, he explained the whole fraudulent scheme, and I recorded every word. The next day, I called Zoe. I've got something big, I said. When I played her the recording, her eyes widened. Olivia, this changes everything. We're not just dealing with a custody battle anymore, this is criminal. I took a deep breath. What do we do? Zoe's smile was fierce. We build an ironclad case, and then we take them down. As I looked at my sleeping daughters, a new resolve filled me. Ethan and Margaret thought they could break me, but they had no idea who they were up against. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore, I was fighting for Lily and Rose, and I was going to win. 6 months flew by in a whirlwind of diapers, sleepless nights, and small moments of joy with my girls, but today was the day I had been preparing for. I stood outside Ethan and Margaret's house, my heart pounding. You ready? Zoe asked, adjusting her suit jacket. I nodded, taking a deep breath. Let's do this. We walked in unannounced, the twins in their stroller. The room went silent, and Ethan's face turned pale. Olivia, what are you doing here? He stammered. I smiled sweetly. Surprise. Honey, meet your daughters. Margaret stepped forward, her face twisted with anger. You have no right to be here. Zoe jumped in, her voice firm. Actually, she has every right. Ethan, you've been served. She handed him a thick envelope. As he read it, his hands shook. Divorce? Custody? Olivia, you can't be serious. I stood my ground. Oh, I'm dead serious. Every instance of your abuse, your abandonment, it's all in there. Margaret scoffed. Abuse? Don't be ridiculous. I pulled out my phone. Shall we listen to the recording of you two plotting to get rid of me again? The room erupted into chaos. Family members shouted, demanding answers. Amid the uproar, there was a knock at the door. A serious-looking man in a suit entered. Ethan Thompson? I'm Agent Carter from the FBI. We need to talk about your company's financials. Ethan's face went from pale to green. I don't know what you're talking about. I stepped forward. But I do, Agent Carter, and I have the evidence. The next few hours were a blur. Ethan was taken in for questioning. The family gathering broke apart in shock, and Margaret was left muttering excuses to people who weren't listening. Months later, I sat in the courtroom, listening to the judge's final verdict. Full custody is awarded to Olivia Thompson. Mr. Thompson, you will be held in custody pending your fraud trial. As Ethan was led away, Margaret shot me a glare that could melt steel, but I just smiled and turned away. Outside, surrounded by my parents, Zoe, and my beautiful girls, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. It's over, I whispered. Zoe squeezed my hand. No, Liv, it's just beginning. Looking at my daughters, I knew she was right. We had a whole new life ahead of us, free from the toxicity and full of love, and I couldn't wait to start. That's the end of Olivia's journey. Now, I have a question for you. If you were in Olivia's shoes, would you have given Ethan a second chance? Or do you think cutting ties completely was the right move? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences and opinions matter. They might even help someone going through a similar situation. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life dramas. Thanks for watching.
I watched my life savings disappear in a cascade of champagne and white roses, while my brother made jokes about my barren womb. That's the kind of family I have. My name is Quinn, and I just spent $60,000 on someone else's wedding. Not by choice. My parents made that decision for me. Money I'd saved for 5 years, working overtime, skipping vacations, living in a shoebox apartment. Money meant for IVF treatments? Gone. To my beautiful bride, Otis raised his glass, his designer tux probably worth more than my car. And to my dear sister Quinn, he paused for dramatic effect, his trademark smirk appearing. At least this way, the world is spared another generation of her neuroses. Laughter rippled through the reception hall. I felt my cheeks burn as 300 pairs of eyes turned toward me. My mother Patricia's tinkling laugh cut the sharpest. She sat at the head table in her $1,000 dress, dabbing tears of mirth from her eyes. "Oh, lighten up, Quinn," she told me earlier when I'd confronted her about the emptied account. "Otis needed this. You know how important image is in his circles. Besides, at your age, maybe it's time to accept that motherhood isn't in God's plan for you." I gripped my champagne flute so hard I thought it might shatter. Beside me, my friend Heidi squeezed my arm. "We can leave," she whispered. "Right now." But I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process how my own family could be so cruel. The wedding venue sparkled with crystal chandeliers and imported flowers, all paid for with my dreams of becoming a mother. "Speech! Speech!" someone called out. The crowd turned expectantly toward me. Of course, the maid of honor's traditional duty. I stood slowly, my legs shaking. "Congratulations, Otis and Cameron," I managed, raising my glass. "I hope this marriage gives you everything you deserve." The crowd seemed disappointed by my brevity, but I couldn't stay there another second. I grabbed my purse and fled, ignoring my mother's sharp "Quinn" behind me. The drive home was a blur. My apartment felt smaller than ever, suffocating with the weight of betrayal. I threw my keys onto the counter, where they landed on a stack of mail I'd been avoiding. Old statements from my parents' accountant, forwarded from their address, probably more manipulation attempts to help me organize my finances. I almost tossed them straight into the recycling, but something made me pause. Maybe it was the universe throwing me a lifeline, or maybe just morbid curiosity about what other ways they'd tried to control my life. The first few envelopes contained exactly what I expected: passive-aggressive suggestions about better money management and family financial planning. But the last envelope made my blood run cold. It was a loan agreement from 5 years ago for Otis's failed health drink company, Bloom, a business I'd explicitly refused to invest in because the numbers didn't add up. Yet there was my signature at the bottom, guaranteeing a loan for $200,000. Except it wasn't my signature. Not really. I'd spent 15 years in finance. I knew my own signature better than my face. This one was close, frighteningly close, but the loop in the Q was wrong. The tail of the N curved up instead of down. My hands started shaking as the pieces clicked into place. The weird questions about my banking details back then. The routine paperwork they'd insisted I'd signed but couldn't remember. The way they'd stopped asking me to invest in Otis's ventures. They'd forged my signature. My own family had committed fraud in my name. I sank to the floor, the paper crumpling in my grip. Tears burned my eyes, but they weren't sad tears anymore. This was rage, pure, clarifying rage. My phone buzzed. A text from Heidi. "You okay? That wedding was brutal. Want me to come over?" I stared at the message for a long moment, then at the forged signature. 5 years ago, they'd stolen my financial security. Today, they'd stolen my chance at motherhood. And they'd laughed about it. I typed back, "Actually, yes. Bring wine. I need your help planning something." The loan document felt heavy in my hands. They thought they could take everything from me because I was the quiet one, the responsible one, the one who always cleaned up their messes. But they'd forgotten something crucial. I wasn't just their doormat anymore. I was a woman with nothing left to lose, and I knew exactly where all their bodies were buried. "You remember Bloom, right?" Heidi asked, pouring her third glass of wine. We sat cross-legged on my living room floor, surrounded by old documents. "That ridiculous luxury wellness drink your brother tried launching? How could I forget? Organic mushroom extracts and activated charcoal, marketed to rich housewives at $50 a bottle." I shuffled through papers, piecing together the timeline. Otis claimed it would revolutionize the health industry. And instead, it revolutionized how fast someone could burn through investor money, Heidi snorted. "Whatever happened with that anyway?" I pulled out my laptop, logging into my old email account. "Let me show you something interesting. 5 years ago, March 15th. Family dinner at my parents' house." The email I'd sent to myself that night popped up. "Note to self, refuse to invest in Bloom. Numbers don't add up. Otis angry. Mum says I'm being difficult. Don't let them pressure me." I wrote this right after they first pitched me the investment opportunity. I told them absolutely not. I grabbed the forged loan document. 2 weeks later this happened, but I never knew about it until now. Heidi leaned forward, squinting at the signature. "Holy shit, Quinn. That's actually criminal. Want to know the best part?" I pulled up my banking app. "Remember last month when I couldn't figure out why my credit score had dropped? Look what just showed up." A new notification blinked red. "Urgent. Payment past due. Business loan to 7891. They're coming after you for the money? Heidi's voice rose in disbelief. After what they just did with your IVF savings? My phone buzzed. Speaking of devils, a text from my mother. Quinny, darling, are you still upset about the wedding? You're being dramatic. Call me. I ignored it. They think I'm weak, Heidi. They've always thought that. The quiet daughter who'll roll over and take whatever they dish out. So what's the play here? Heidi grabbed a notepad. We could go to the police right now. That's fraud, plain and simple. I shook my head. Not yet. First, I want to see how far they'll go to cover this up. The bank will contact them soon about the missed payments. Let's see what story they spin. You're going to let them dig their own grave, Heidi smiled slowly. I like it. But what about the wedding video? The one where Otis basically admits stealing your IVF money? Already downloaded and backed up to 3 different clouds. I pulled up the clip on my phone. Otis's drunk voice crystal clear. Poor Quinn's egg fund paid for the caviar. But hey, better spent on my happy day than her sad little baby dreams, right? Heidi's face darkened. Your brother's a monster. They all are. And they're about to learn exactly what happens when you back a monster into a corner. I reached for my phone as it buzzed again, this time with an official-looking email. Dear Ms. Grant, this letter is to inform you of severe delinquency on business loan MALMU 247891. Please contact our collections department immediately. Sincerely, Roman Jackson, Senior Collections Officer. Perfect timing, I murmured. Now we wait. For what? For them to realise they can't ignore this anymore. The bank won't stop at just me. They'll investigate everyone connected to that loan. And when they do... I trailed off as another text came through, this time from Otis. Quinn, call Mum and Dad right now. Something weird is happening with the bank. Don't talk to anyone until we figure this out. Heidi read the text over my shoulder and whistled. They're panicking. Good. I started gathering the documents into a folder. Because this is just the beginning. I'm going to take everything from them, Heidi. Their money, their reputation, their precious social standing. By the time I'm done, they'll wish they'd never touched my IVF fund. What do you need from me? Help me document everything. Every text, every email, every voicemail. I want a paper trail so detailed it'll make an accountant weep. My phone lit up again. My father this time. Princess, we need to discuss some old paperwork. Nothing to worry about. Call us. I showed Heidi the message. See? They still think they can control this narrative. Still think their difficult daughter will fall in line. They have no idea what's coming, do they? No, I smiled, picking up the forged loan document. But they're about to find out that blood isn't always thicker than fraud. Another email notification popped up. This one addressed to my parents' home, but forwarded to me automatically. The subject line made my heart race. Final notice. Immediate action required. Game on. Quinny, there's been a terrible mistake. My mother's voice dripped honey through the phone. The bank is confused about some old paperwork. You'll help us sort it out, won't you? I kept my voice carefully neutral. What kind of paperwork? Oh, just some silly loan document from Otis's old business venture. They seem to think you're involved somehow. You must have forgotten signing it. I gripped my desk at work, catching Heidi's eye across the office. She gave me a thumbs up. That's strange, Mum. I specifically remember refusing to sign anything for Bloom. A pause. Well, memories can be tricky, darling. Your father and I clearly remember you agreeing to help. You were so supportive of Otis back then. Was I? Like how I was supportive of his wedding? Another pause. Longer this time. Now, Quinn, don't start that again. We've been through this. The money went to a good cause. My IVF fund wasn't yours to spend. Quinny, I have to go, Mum. I have a meeting. I hung up before she could respond and immediately texted Heidi. They're sticking to the she must have forgotten story. Heidi appeared at my desk minutes later. I found something interesting about that loan. Remember Otis's ex-girlfriend Amanda? She worked at the bank when the loan was processed. My eyebrows shot up. The one he dated right before Cameron? The same. Want to guess who processed the paperwork? I was already pulling up LinkedIn. Amanda's profile showed her employment history, including her sudden departure from the bank right after the loan was approved. Got her? There's more. Heidi lowered her voice. I had my IT friend do some digging. The wedding photographer uploaded all the raw footage to a cloud drive, including stuff that didn't make the final cut. She pulled out her phone and played a video. The image was slightly shaky, but the audio was clear. Otis stood with Cameron and some friends, champagne in hand. And I had to raid poor Quinn's egg fund for the caterer. His voice slurred slightly. She's been hoarding money for years, trying to buy herself a baby. Like throwing good money after bad, right? Some people just aren't meant to be parents. Cameron's distinctive laugh rang out. Oh my God, that's horrible. But the food was amazing. I felt sick. Send me that footage. Already did. What's your next move? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Roman Jackson from the bank. I answered, putting it on speaker. Ms. Grant? I'm calling about some concerning information we've received regarding loan 27891. Yes, Mr. Jackson? We've had multiple parties contact us claiming there might be irregularities with the signature. Would you be willing to come in and discuss this? I caught Heidi's eye. Actually, I've been gathering some documentation about that loan myself. When would be a good time to meet? We set up an appointment for the following day. As soon as I hung up, my phone exploded with texts from Otis. What the hell, Quinn? The bank just froze our accounts. Cameron's cards aren't working. Call me now. I showed Heidi the messages. Looks like the bank's taking this seriously. Good. She grinned. Oh, and one more thing. I may have anonymously sent some of that wedding footage to a few of Otis's business partners, the ones who invested in his new startup. My phone buzzed again, this time with an email notification. The subject line read, Immediate termination of investment agreement. Heidi, you didn't. I did. Those venture capitalists apparently don't appreciate executives who brag about stealing from their infertile sisters. For the first time since the wedding, I felt a smile tugging at my lips. Mum's going to have a meltdown when she realizes her precious son is losing his investors. Right on cue, my mother's number flashed on my screen. I declined the call and watched as she immediately sent a text. Quinn, please. We need to talk. Your father and I never meant for any of this to happen. We can explain everything. Too late, I muttered, turning my phone face down. 5 years too late. Heidi perched on my desk. You know they're going to show up at your apartment tonight, right? Let them. I've got a nice folder of forged documents ready for them to see, plus a police report I haven't filed yet. The threat of criminal charges should make them squirm. I nodded, pulling up the wedding video one more time. Otis's cruel laughter echoed from my speakers. They thought they could steal my chance at motherhood and humiliate me in front of everyone I know. And now? Now they get to learn what real humiliation feels like. I checked my calendar for tomorrow's bank meeting. One signature at a time. The doorbell rang at exactly 7 p.m. I'd been expecting them. Quinn, open this door right now. My mother's voice carried through the wood. We know you're home. I took my time walking to the door, deliberately letting them stew. When I opened it, they burst in like they owned the place. My mother in her designer outfit, my father looking uncomfortable in his golf clothes, and Otis in a rumpled business suit. What did you say to the bank? Otis demanded, his face red. Do you have any idea what you've done? My investors are pulling out. I settled onto my couch, calm as still water. I haven't said anything to anyone. Yet. Don't play games, my mother snapped. Your brother's accounts are frozen. Cameron's threatening to leave him. All because you're being spiteful about a little loan you agreed to years ago. Did I? I reached for the folder on my coffee table. That's interesting, because I have an email from March 15th, 5 years ago, explicitly refusing to sign anything for Bloom. My father shifted uncomfortably. Princess, sometimes we forget things. Like how you forgot to ask before stealing my IVF savings. I pulled out the wedding video transcript. Or how Otis forgot he was being recorded when he bragged about using my egg fund for his caviar. The colour drained from Otis's face. You recorded that? I didn't have to. Your wedding photographer did. Amazing what people capture when you think no one's watching. My mother stepped forward, switching tactics. Darling, we're family. Whatever mistakes were made, we can work this out privately. There's no need to involve banks and investors. Family, I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make her flinch. Was it family when you forged my signature? When you made me a guarantor for a loan I explicitly refused? Or when you laughed at your son mocking my infertility in front of 300 people? That was just a joke. Here's what's going to happen. I pulled out another document. This is a police report for fraud, currently unfiled. I'm giving you one chance to make this right. Otis lunged forward. You wouldn't dare. Try me? I met his eyes. How do you think your new investors will react when they learn you're under investigation for fraud? How many country club memberships accept felons, Mum? My father sank into a chair. What do you want? Everything. The loan amount, plus the IVF money, plus interest, and a public apology. That's ridiculous, my mother sputtered. We don't have that kind of money. Then I guess you'd better start selling things. Maybe that vacation house in the Hamptons, or your precious art collection. My phone buzzed, a text from Roman Jackson. Ms. Grant, after reviewing the evidence you provided, we're preparing to launch a formal investigation. Would you like to press charges? I showed them the message. Clock's ticking. You'd really do this to your own family? Otis's voice cracked. Destroy everything we've built? No, Otis, you did that. The moment you decided my dreams were worth less than your wedding cake. I stood up. You have 48 hours to transfer the full amount. After that, I stop playing nice. Quinn, please. My mother tried one last time. Think about what this will do to our reputation. I am thinking about it. That's the point. I opened my door. Now, get out of my apartment. Oh, and Mom? That charity board you're so proud of being on? They received an anonymous video of Otis's wedding toast this morning. Might want to check your email. They left in stunned silence. As soon as the door closed, I texted Heidi. Phase 1 complete. They took the bait. She replied instantly. How'd they take it? Like entitled people suddenly realizing their actions have consequences. My phone lit up with a call from Roman Jackson. I answered, my voice steady. Ms. Grant, I've reviewed everything you sent. The signature analysis, the email trail, the wedding video. This is serious fraud. I know. We're prepared to remove your name from the loan immediately, but we'll need your cooperation for the investigation. I smiled, watching through my window as my family argued in the parking lot. Mr. Jackson, I think it's time we had a proper meeting. There's more you should know. Tomorrow morning? Perfect. I hung up and pulled up the wedding video one more time. Otis's cruel joke about my infertility played back, but this time it didn't hurt, because now I had something better than their love or approval. I had leverage. Roman Jackson's office was exactly what you'd expect from a senior bank officer, all mahogany and leather, designed to intimidate. But today, he was the one who looked uncomfortable. Ms. Grant, this evidence is disturbing. He spread the documents across his desk. The forged signature, the wedding video, the email trail, your brother's ex-girlfriend's involvement while she worked here. It's all very damning. I know. I sat straight-backed in the visitor's chair. The question is, what are you going to do about it? He leaned forward. Legally, we're obligated to report fraud of this magnitude. Your family could face serious criminal charges. Could? Unless... He paused, studying me. Unless the victim, you, has another solution in mind. I pulled out my own folder. Actually, I do. But first, I need to show you something else. I handed him a USB drive. Security footage from my brother's new office. He's been moving company funds through personal accounts to dodge taxes. Might want to pay attention to timestamps around 2:15. Roman's eyebrows shot up as he watched. This is extensive. My friend works in IT. Amazing what people leave on cloud servers. I smiled thinly. I'm not interested in pressing criminal charges. Yet. What I want is leverage. I'm listening. Remove my name from the loan. Transfer all liability to them. Let them feel the weight of their decisions. He nodded slowly. That's actually more merciful than what the law prescribes. Oh, I'm not being merciful. I'm being strategic. My phone buzzed. A text from Heidi. It's done. Left everything exactly where you said. Perfect timing. I turned back to Roman. Check your email in about 10 minutes. You'll receive an anonymous tip about some interesting documents at my parents' house, the forged signature samples, and an unfiled police report. Let's see how they handle the pressure of knowing I could end them at any moment." Roman sat back, a hint of admiration in his eyes. "You've thought this through. They stole my chance at motherhood, used my savings to fund a wedding where they mocked my infertility. Trust me, I've had time to think." My phone lit up again, Otis calling. I showed Roman the screen. "Want to watch them squirm?" I answered on speaker. "Yes." "Quinn, what the hell?" Otis's voice shook. "I just found... Are you trying to send us to jail?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "The signature samples, the police report. Don't play dumb." "Oh, you mean evidence of your fraud? Funny how that works." "Please," his voice cracked. "Cameron's already moved out. The investors are gone. What more do you want? Everything you took from me, plus interest. You have 24 hours left." "Or what?" "Or I stop being nice." I hung up and turned to Roman. How long before they received the official bank notices? He checked his computer. They should be delivered this afternoon. Full fraud investigation, account freezes, the works. Good. I stood up. Keep me updated on their response. And Roman, thank you for seeing through their act. Thank you for bringing this to light. We're investigating several other loans processed during that period now. As I left his office, my phone exploded with notifications. My mother had been removed from her charity board position. The wedding video had gone viral in local business circles. Otis's company stock was plummeting. I texted Heidi, "How's the media coverage looking?" Like a forest fire. 3 business journals want statements about financial abuse in families. The fertility clinic wants to feature your story in their newsletter. Another call came in. My father this time. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker. "Princess, please, your mother's hysterical. We can fix this. We'll sell whatever we need to. Just don't do this to us. We're family." I deleted the message and typed out a single text to all of them. "Family doesn't forge signatures. Family doesn't steal dreams. You have 24 hours to transfer everything, or the police get every document I have. Your choice." Heidi called moments later. "Quinn, you need to see this. They're trying to transfer their assets to offshore accounts." I smiled. "Already flagged those accounts to the bank this morning. Every move they make just digs their hole deeper." "You really thought of everything, didn't you?" "They taught me well." I watched another email notification pop up. More investors pulling out of Otis's company. After all, I learned from the best about how to destroy someone completely. The difference was, I was going to do it legally, and they'd never see the final blow coming. The video of Otis's wedding toast went viral overnight. By morning, my mother's carefully curated social media was flooded with comments about toxic families and financial abuse. Otis's business partners couldn't distance themselves fast enough. "Your brother's company stock dropped 70%, Heidi reported, scrolling through her phone. "And Cameron just posted that she's taking time to reevaluate her life choices." I sipped my coffee, watching my inbox fill with interview requests. How's my mother handling the charity board fallout? Not well. She tried to spin it as a family misunderstanding, but then someone leaked the loan documents. She's been asked to resign from 3 more organizations. My phone buzzed. Cameron calling. That was unexpected. "Quinn, can we meet? Alone?" Her voice sounded different, stripped of its usual smugness. "There's something you should know." An hour later, I sat across from her at a quiet cafe. Her designer clothes couldn't hide how exhausted she looked. "I'm leaving Otis," she said without preamble. "Filing for annulment. I had no idea about the fraud, Quinn, or that your money paid for the wedding." "Really?" "Because the video shows you laughing at his jokes about my infertility." She flinched. "I know, I was horrible, but after everything came out..." She pulled out her phone, showing me bank statements. "Look what I found. He's been embezzling from his company for months, using the money to pay off gambling debts." Now that was interesting. "Does anyone else know?" "Not yet, but I'm meeting with the company board tomorrow." She pushed an envelope across the table. "Here's your wedding money back. I sold my engagement ring." I stared at the check. "Why?" "Because I was wrong, and because karma's coming for all of them. She stood up. Good luck, Quinn. I hope you get your baby someday. After she left, I texted Heidi. Got another bomb to drop. How's that journalist friend of yours? The story broke that afternoon. Tech CEO caught in embezzlement scandal. Sister's IVF fund among stolen assets. Otis's face plastered across business news sites. Cameron's damning testimony featured prominently. My parents showed up at my office unannounced, looking desperate. Make it stop, my mother pleaded, mascara streaking her cheeks. We'll pay whatever you want. Just call off the investigators. I kept typing at my computer, not looking up. Funny how money matters when it's yours being taken? We made a mistake, my father said. We'll make it right. Like you made right by me? I finally turned to face them. Let's talk about mistakes, like forging my signature, stealing my savings, mocking my infertility. We have a cashier's check, my mother pulled it out. Everything you asked for, plus extra. Just, please. I took the check, reading the memo line. For family peace. Family peace? I laughed. No, try again. Write exactly what this is for. Quinn, be reasonable. Write it. Or I call Roman right now. With shaking hands, my mother amended the check's memo line. For childless silence, exox. Perfect. I snapped a photo and posted it directly to Twitter. There's your family peace. They left in shocked silence. Minutes later, my phone rang. Roman Jackson. The bank has officially removed your name from the loan, he said, and we're opening a formal investigation into your brother's company finances. Good. I forwarded him Cameron's evidence. You'll want to see this too. By evening, Otis's company board had called an emergency meeting. He was suspended pending investigation. Cameron's divorce attorney was already circling. My mother's social circle imploded as decades of carefully hidden scandals surfaced. Anonymous tips about tax evasion, charity fund mismanagement, all the secrets she'd used to maintain her power. You're destroying them, Heidi observed as we watched the news coverage. No, I corrected her. They destroyed themselves. I'm just making sure everyone sees it. My phone chimed with a text from Otis. You won. Happy now? You've ruined everything. I typed back, not everything, just the things you stole. Then I blocked their numbers, all of them. Let them watch their empire crumble without being able to reach me, to manipulate me, to guilt me into saving them one more time. What now? Heidi asked. I pulled up a website I'd been researching, a fertility clinic specializing in donor embryo adoption. Now, I build something new, something they can't touch. The consultation appointment was already scheduled for next week. My family had tried to steal my dream of motherhood. Instead, they'd just shown me exactly how strong I could be without them. The courthouse hallway felt colder than it should have in August. I sat on a hard wooden bench, watching my family huddle with their lawyers. My mother's designer outfit couldn't hide her defeat. Otis's expensive suit looked wrinkled, like he'd slept in it. My father just looked old. All rise, the bailiff called. Inside the courtroom, Cameron sat on the prosecution's side, clutching a folder of bank statements. She nodded slightly when she saw me. Roman Jackson sat nearby, his own stack of evidence ready. Your Honour, the prosecutor began, we have clear evidence of multiple instances of fraud, including forged signatures, embezzlement, and misappropriation of funds. My mother's lawyer tried to interrupt. Your Honour, if we could discuss a settlement. The time for settlements was before this reached my courtroom. The judge cut in. She turned to me. Ms. Grant, I understand you have a statement? I stood, smoothing my conservative black dress. Yes, Your Honour. Walking to the podium, I pulled out my phone. Before I begin, I'd like to play something. The wedding video filled the courtroom's screens. Otis's voice rang out crystal clear. Poor Quinn's egg fund paid for the caviar. But hey, better spent on my happy day than her sad little baby dreams, right? Laughter from the video. My mother's distinctive giggle cut through the silence. I stopped the video. That was my brother, mocking my infertility at his wedding. A wedding paid for with money stolen from my IVF fund. I turned to face them directly. But that was just the latest theft. Pulling out the forged loan document, I continued. 5 years ago, they forged my signature to secure a business loan. When that business failed, they tried to saddle me with the debt. When I discovered the fraud, they tried to guilt me into silence. Because that's what family does, right? My mother wiped away tears. Fake ones, I was sure. But this isn't about money anymore. This is about women being robbed of their choices by the very people who should protect them. About mothers who destroy their daughters' chance at motherhood. About brothers who treat infertility as a punchline. The judge leaned forward. And what outcome are you seeking today? Justice, Your Honour, not revenge, just consequences for their actions. Cameron stepped up next, detailing Otis's embezzlement. Roman presented the bank's evidence of fraud. My parents' lawyer looked increasingly desperate. Your Honour, my mother suddenly burst out, we're family. We can work this out privately. Mrs. Grant. The judge's voice cracked like a whip. Family status does not exempt you from the law. The verdict came swiftly. Otis. Guilty of fraud and embezzlement. 2 years probation, hefty fines, community service. My parents, guilty of fraud and financial abuse. Probation, mandatory restitution, community service. But the real punishment was in the details. They were ordered to repay every penny they'd stolen, plus interest. Their assets would be monitored. Their reputations, already in tatters, would never recover. Outside the courthouse, Otis caught up to me. You destroyed this family, he snarled. I turned slowly. No, Otis. You did that the moment you made my womb a punchline. Quinn, please. My mother tried one last time. We can still fix this. Fix what? My trust? My faith in family? Or just your reputation? My father stepped forward. Princess, don't. I held up my hand. You don't get to call me that anymore. You don't get to call me anything. Heidi appeared at my side, along with Roman. A wall of protection I hadn't asked for but desperately appreciated. It's over, I said simply. You're not my family anymore. You're just people who share my DNA, and that's not enough. What about forgiveness? My mother pleaded. Some things can't be forgiven. Some wounds don't heal. I turned away. Goodbye. Walking down those courthouse steps, I felt lighter than I had in years. My phone buzzed. An email from the fertility clinic confirming my consultation. You okay? Heidi asked softly. Better than okay. I showed her the email. I'm starting over, building my own family. Without them? Without them. I looked back at the courthouse where my former family stood defeated. Some people think blood is everything, but they're wrong. Roman touched my shoulder. The bank's fraud department would like to offer you a position, by the way. We could use someone with your attention to detail. I smiled. I'll think about it. The sun felt warm on my face as we walked away. Behind me, I could hear my mother crying, Otis arguing with his lawyer, my father's heavy silence. But for the first time in my life, their drama wasn't my problem. I had a different future to build. Are you sure about this? Heidi asked, helping me unpack boxes in my new house. It wasn't huge, but it had a yard and a room painted soft yellow. Perfect for a nursery. More sure than I've ever been. I pulled out a framed photo from my fertility support group. Besides, I'm not doing this alone anymore. My phone buzzed with a video call from Jake, a single dad I'd met in the group. His toddler daughter's face filled the screen. Chocolate ice cream smeared across her cheeks. Say hi to Quinn, Jake prompted. Hi, Quinn. Sophie waved sticky fingers at the camera. When you coming to play? Soon, sweetie. We have a park date tomorrow, remember? After connecting over shared stories of family drama and fertility struggles, Jake and I had developed an unexpected friendship. When he mentioned wanting a sibling for Sophie, but struggling as a single parent, something clicked. We weren't looking for romance. We were looking for partnership, for family built on choice rather than obligation. The doorbell rang. Roman Jackson stood outside, holding a thick envelope. Thought you'd want to see this in person, he said, stepping inside. The final paperwork from the bank's investigation. Your name is officially cleared, and we've identified 3 other cases of similar fraud from when your brother's ex worked there. Any word on my family? Your brother's working at a warehouse on the outskirts of town. Your parents sold their house, downgraded significantly. Your mother's been volunteering at a women's shelter as part of her community service. I raised an eyebrow. Bet she loves that. Actually, Roman shuffled through some papers. Her supervisor says she's been surprisingly dedicated. especially with financial abuse cases. Karma's funny that way, Heidi commented. My phone chimed with an email notification from the fertility clinic. I opened it with trembling fingers. The donor embryo transfer is scheduled, I breathed. Next month. You ready? Heidi squeezed my hand. More than ready. Jake's coming with me for support. We've already worked out the co-parenting agreement if it takes. Roman smiled. You've built something remarkable here, Quinn. From the ashes of what they destroyed. Speaking of building, I pulled out a business card. I've been consulting with other fraud victims, helping them recognize the signs, gather evidence. Turns out my experience has value. The bank's offer still stands, Roman reminded me. Head of our new family fraud prevention unit. I know, I'm accepting. I looked around my new home, at the life I was choosing. But on my terms this time. The doorbell rang again. Jake and Sophie bounded in, bringing the chaos of toddler energy and take-out dinner. We brought celebration food, Sophie announced, holding up a bag. Daddy says you got good news. The best news, I scooped her up, breathing in her baby shampoo scent. Want to help me set up the yellow room? Is that where the baby will sleep? When I get a brother or sister? Maybe. We'll see what happens. As Sophie dragged Jake upstairs to inspect the room, Heidi helped unpack the food. You know, she said quietly, this is better than revenge. You didn't just survive them. You're thriving without them. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Cameron. Thought you should know. Your mother's been sharing your story at the shelter, teaching women to protect themselves from financial abuse. Maybe something good came from all this, after all. I showed Heidi the message. Redemption comes in strange ways. Are you ever going to forgive them? No, I said honestly, but I'm going to build something better than forgiveness. I'm going to build a family that doesn't need it. Sophie's laughter echoed from upstairs, followed by Jake's playful roar. Roman was sorting through take-out containers while Heidi arranged furniture. Through the window, I could see my new neighbours waving as they walked their dog. This was my family now. Not bound by blood or obligation, but by choice and love and second chances. My hand rested on my stomach, imagining the possibility growing there next month. The future I'd fought for, won back, rebuilt from scratch. Quinn, Sophie called from upstairs. Come see, we found the perfect spot for the crib. I headed up the stairs, leaving behind the weight of my old family's expectations. They'd tried to steal my dreams of motherhood, but they'd failed. Because family isn't who shares your blood. It's who helps you build something beautiful from the broken pieces. And my new family? We were just getting started. Coming, sweetie, I called back, stepping into the yellow room filled with possibility. Show me everything.
I knew something was off the night King came home smelling like coconut and sea salt, not the kind of scent you get from a new body wash or a hotel lobby. No, this was faint, familiar, and wrong. It clung to his shirt like a ghost, and when I hugged him, it hit me like a slap. New cologne? I asked, pulling back. He blinked. What? Oh, nah. Probably from the Uber. Driver had one of those little tree things. I nodded like I bought it. Like that made sense. Like I hadn't just spent the last 2 hours spiraling because Lindsay posted a beach selfie with a caption that said, "Solo reset, just me and the waves." But in the reflection of her sunglasses, barely visible, but there, it was him. King. His stupid gold chain and that faded Lakers cap I begged him to throw out. My name's Christine. I'm 34, and I used to think I was smart. I used to think I could trust my instincts. But when your entire family looks you in the face and tells you you're imagining things, you start to wonder if maybe you are. Babe, you good? King asked, tossing his keys onto the counter. Yeah, just tired, I said, walking past him to the kitchen. My hands were shaking, so I grabbed a wine glass to give them something to do. He followed me in, leaned against the fridge like he always did when he wanted to play casual. You're not mad I missed dinner, are you? Nope. He smiled. Cool. You know, I love how chill you've gotten lately. You used to be so uptight. I poured the wine and didn't say anything, just nodded like a good little wife. The next morning I called Lindsay. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice light. How was your solo reset? She laughed. So good. I needed it. Work's been insane. Where'd you go again? Santa Barbara. Just a quick thing. Spa, beach, you know. You drove? Uh-huh. Why? Just wondering. I saw a guy in the background of one of your pics. Looked like King. Dead silence. Then a laugh. What? Girl? No. Are you serious? I mean, it looked like him? Oh my God, Christine, you're being paranoid again. There it was. Again. I swallowed. Sorry, never mind. No, it's fine. I get it. After everything you've been through, it makes sense you'd be a little sensitive. I hung up a few minutes later and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the carpet. Sensitive. That's what they always said when I asked questions. Sensitive, emotional, dramatic. I called my mom next. Do you think it's weird Lindsay went on a trip and didn't tell anyone who she was with? She said she went alone, Mom said flatly. I know, but... Christine, she cut me off. You've always had abandonment issues. You see betrayal where there is none. I bit my cheek. I just think something's going on. Well, if there is, I'm sure it's nothing serious. Don't drive yourself crazy. That night, I started a journal. Nothing poetic, just bullet points, times, dates, screenshots. I needed something solid, something that couldn't be twisted or dismissed. March 3rd, King said he was in Sacramento. Lindsay posted a pic from a rooftop bar in L.A. Same skyline, same night. March 10th, King's car smells like coconut. Lindsay's new lotion is coconut scented. I asked her at brunch. March 15th, found a pink hair tie in King's glove compartment. I don't wear pink. I didn't tell anyone I was keeping track, not even Shanice, my best friend. Not yet. I needed more. I needed to be sure. A week later, I was at Delilah's house for family dinner. Everyone was there. Mom, Dad, King, Lindsay, Spencer. I watched them all carefully. Watched how King and Lindsay avoided eye contact. Watched how Mom kept steering conversations away from me. Watched how Delilah kept checking her phone like she was waiting for a cue. You've been quiet, Dad said, passing me the mashed potatoes. Just tired, I replied. Still not sleeping well? Mom asked, her voice all concerned sugar. I nodded. She reached over and patted my hand. You should really talk to someone, maybe go back on something. You were doing so well before. I smiled. You're right. King looked at me then, really looked, like he was trying to figure out if I'd taken the bait. I excused myself after dinner and went to the bathroom. Lindsay's purse was on the counter. Open. I peeked in. Lip gloss. Keys. A folded receipt from a hotel in Santa Barbara. 2 nights. 1 king bed. I snapped a photo with my phone, put it back exactly how I found it, and walked out. That night I sent Shanice a text. Can we talk? She called me immediately. What's going on? I think King is cheating on me. There was a pause. With who? I hesitated. Lindsay. Silence. Christine. I know how it sounds. Do you have proof? Not yet. Then get it. I sat in the dark after we hung up, scrolling through Lindsay's Instagram again. I zoomed in on the beach photo. His reflection was clear now. The cap, the chain, the shape of his jaw. I saved the image and added it to the folder I labeled Truth. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't sensitive. I wasn't imagining things. They were just really good liars. I showed Lindsay the photo on my phone without saying a word. She blinked, lips parting. What is this? You tell me. She stared at the image, her sunglasses, the faint reflection of King behind her. Her face twisted. That's not him. Really? I tilted the screen. Because that looks like his Lakers hat, the one he swears is lucky. You're being insane, she snapped, stepping back like I'd slapped her. You always do this. You spiral and then drag everyone down with you. I'm asking a simple question. No, you're accusing me. Again. Her voice cracked. You know how hard I've worked to fix things with you, and now you're throwing this at me? Fix what? I asked, crossing my arms. You went to Santa Barbara with my husband. I didn't, she shouted, tears spilling over. You're sick, Christine. You need help. I laughed. I couldn't help it. That's rich coming from the woman who lies with tears on command. She stormed out of my apartment, slamming the door so hard the picture frames rattled. I stood there, heart thudding, hands shaking, but not from doubt, from fury. Later that night, I met Shanice at a diner. She slid into the booth across from me, eyeing my face. You look like you haven't slept. I haven't. I handed her my phone. She scrolled through the photos, screenshots, timestamps, the hotel receipt. Damn, she muttered. Okay, this is bad. I confronted her. Let me guess, she cried and called you crazy? Bingo. She put the phone down. You need real proof, not just breadcrumbs. You need a loaf. I don't know how to get it. She sipped her coffee, then leaned in. I have a guy, ex-cop, does private work now, mostly cyber stuff, but he's good, discreet. I raised an eyebrow. You're serious? Do I look like I'm joking? That's how I met Enzo. He showed up at my house 2 days later, tall, broad, with a voice like gravel, and eyes that didn't blink much. He wore jeans and a plain black tee, like he didn't care what people thought. I liked that. You're Christine? He asked. Yeah. Shanice briefed me. You want dirt on your husband and your sister. Proof. I want proof. He nodded. You got money? Yes. Then I got time. We sat at the dining table. I handed him a folder with everything I'd collected, photos, dates, notes. He flipped through it quickly. Smart. Most people wait until it's too late. I want to stay quiet until I'm ready. Good. I'll start with phone records, hotel surveillance, GPS data. Give me a week. He stood to leave and paused at the door. You sure you want the truth? I didn't answer. He nodded like he already knew. A week later, I was at work when the email came through. Subject line, delivery. I locked my office door before opening it. There were 6 photos, King and Lindsay, checking into a hotel, holding hands, her head on his shoulder, him kissing her neck in the elevator. The timestamp? June 17th, our anniversary weekend. The weekend he told me he had a business retreat in Napa. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Then I forwarded the email to my personal account and deleted it from work. That night, I printed the photos and laid them out on my bed. I sat there for a long time, just looking, studying their faces, the way they smiled, how comfortable they looked, how smug. The next morning, I called my mom. I want to talk, I said. Of course. Come by. I walked into her house like I wasn't holding a grenade in my purse. She made tea, sat across from me like everything was normal. I think I owe Lindsay an apology, I said softly. Her eyebrows lifted. Really? I've been paranoid, and I realize now I've been projecting. She smiled. That's very big of you, Christine. I just want peace. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. We all do. I smiled back. Then I went to Lindsay's apartment. She opened the door with a cautious look. What do you want? To say I'm sorry. She blinked. Why? I was wrong. About the beach trip. About the photo. I let my fears get the best of me. She stepped aside slowly, letting me in. We sat on her couch. She looked at me like she was waiting for the punchline. I'm trying to be better, I said. More mature. I want to move forward. She nodded, eyes darting. I leaned in. Tell King I said the same. She flinched. I smiled. I'll see you at family dinner Sunday. When I got home, I called Enzo. Keep digging, I said. You got it. Then I called my lawyer. I'm ready to start the paperwork. Divorce? She asked. Not just that, I said. I want to make sure when this burns, it burns everything they've built on my back. She paused. Christine, are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Family dinner that Sunday was at Delilah's house. Her kitchen always smelled like garlic and wine, and her fake laugh echoed through the halls like a ringtone you couldn't turn off. I walked in holding a bottle of wine and a smile that wasn't mine. "Christine," Delilah chirped, air kissing my cheek. "You look amazing, so much more relaxed." "I've been meditating," I lied. King was already there, sitting close to Lindsay on the couch, not touching, but close enough to make my stomach twist. He looked up at me and smiled like nothing was broken. "You want a drink?" he asked. "Sure," I said, handing him the wine. "Open this for me?" He nodded and walked to the kitchen. Lindsay followed, brushing past me without a word. I turned to Spencer, who was pretending to scroll through his phone. "Hey!" He looked up, startled. "Hey, you good?" "Great," he nodded, eyes darting away. We sat down for dinner. Mom, Dad, Delilah, Spencer, King, Lindsay, and me. The table felt too small, too loud. Mom poured wine like it was holy water, smiling at me like we were best friends. "So," she said, "how's work?" "Busy," I replied. "Still at the firm?" Dad asked. "For now." Delilah jumped in. "Lindsay's boutique is doing great. She just got a new investor." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" Lindsay smiled, all teeth. "Yeah, someone who really believes in me." King smirked into his glass. I cut my steak slowly. "That's amazing. I hope it's someone you trust." "Of course," she said, not looking at me. I waited until dessert to drop the bait. "I've been thinking a lot lately," I said, setting down my fork, "about forgiveness." The table went still. "That's good," Mom said carefully. "I think I've been too harsh, too suspicious. I want to be better." "That's very mature of you," Dad added. King reached for my hand. "I'm proud of you." I let him take it. "Thanks." Then I looked at Lindsay. "I forgive you." She froze. "For what?" I tilted my head. "You know," Delilah cleared her throat. "Maybe we should—" "No," I said. "Let's be honest. It's exhausting pretending." Lindsay laughed nervously. "Christine, I don't know what you're talking about." I leaned back. "I forgive you for sleeping with my husband." Silence. King coughed. "Okay, that's not funny." "I'm not joking." Mom stood. "Christine, enough." "No, really, it's fine," I said, smiling. "I've made peace with it." Dad looked like he wanted to disappear into his chair. Spencer stared at his plate. "I just want to move forward," I said. "No more secrets." King shook his head. "This is ridiculous." "You're right." I stood and raised my glass. "To family, the ones who lie to your face and smile while doing it." I clinked my glass against Lindsay's. She didn't move. Later, as we were leaving, Mom pulled me aside. "What are you doing?" "Being honest." "You're making things worse." I leaned in. "How long have you known?" She stiffened. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." She looked around, then whispered, "It's complicated." "How long?" She sighed. "A few months, maybe more." I stepped back. "And you didn't tell me." "We didn't want to hurt you." I laughed. "You didn't want to deal with me." "You always overreact." I nodded slowly. "Right. This is my fault." "Christine." "No," I said, voice low. "You all knew, and you let me sit at that table like a fool. We thought it would be easier if you didn't know." I stared at her. "Easier for who?" She didn't answer. I smiled. "You're right. I need to be mature." I walked out and didn't look back. The next day, I met with my lawyer. "I want a file," I said. "Adultery?" "And financial misconduct." She raised an eyebrow. "Do you have proof?" "Working on it." We went over the paperwork, line by line. I signed every page with steady hands. That night, I called Enzo. "I need you to look into King's finances." "Already started," he said. You're not going to like what I found. Try me. He pulled money from your joint equity line, transferred it to a business account under Lindsay's name. My chest tightened. How much? 50 grand, maybe more. I closed my eyes. Keep digging. You got it. I hung up and sat in the dark. The next morning I got another email from Enzo. Attached was a voice memo. I clicked play. Mom's voice filled the room. We need to keep Christine compliant. She can't find out about the trust fund. I hit pause. Then I hit record on my phone and played it again. I labeled the file insurance. I wasn't just going to burn the house down. I was going to salt the earth so nothing could grow again. Do you think they suspect anything? Shanice asked, popping a grape into her mouth. We were sitting in my car outside the boutique Lindsay opened 2 months ago. The one I now knew was funded with my money. No, I said. They think I've surrendered, that I'm finally the quiet, broken version of myself they've always wanted. She looked at me. You're scary when you smile like that. I'm just tired of being polite. Inside the boutique, Lindsay was laughing with a customer, flipping her hair like she hadn't stolen my husband, like she wasn't living off money siphoned from my mortgage. You really gonna go through with it? Shanice asked. I handed her my phone. Listen. She pressed play. My mother's voice filled the car again. We need to keep Christine compliant. She can't find out about the trust fund. Shanice's eyes widened. You serious? Dead. Damn, she muttered. This is a whole soap opera. No, I said. It's a crime scene. I kept up the act for 3 more weeks. Family dinners, texts to King, even a fake couples therapy appointment where I let him ramble about how hard it was to be misunderstood. You're so strong, he said, reaching for my hand. Most women would have left. I smiled. I'm not most women. Meanwhile, Enzo was working overtime. He found bank transfers, forged signatures, even a shell company under King's name that funneled funds into Lindsay's boutique. Want to press charges? He asked. Not yet, I said. I want to make it public first. Messy, he warned. Good. At the next family dinner, I brought Shanice with me. Just for support, I told them. She's been helping me heal. Mom lit up. That's wonderful. It's good to have neutral energy around. Shanice smiled sweetly. I'm just here to observe. King leaned over and whispered, You're glowing lately. Must be the peace, I whispered back. He smirked. I told you, letting go is freedom. I nodded. And clarity is power. Later that night, Enzo sent me a spreadsheet. Every dollar King had taken, every deposit into Lindsay's boutique, every forged document. At the bottom was a note. You've got enough for fraud, theft, and breach of fiduciary duty. Want to go nuclear? I replied, yes. The next day, I booked the restaurant. High-end private dining, full staff. I told my family it was for my birthday. I want us all together, I said. No drama, just love. They all agreed. Of course they did. They thought I was finally broken enough to play nice. I met with the restaurant manager in person. I need the staff to follow specific instructions, I said. Some of them won't actually be staff. He frowned. Excuse me? I slid a thick envelope across the table. I'm paying for privacy and performance. He opened it, eyes widening. Understood. I hired a videographer, told him it was for a birthday montage, told him where to point the camera, what to capture, when to zoom in. I brought Shanice in on the full plan. I need you to play neutral. Smile, nod, be the calm one. She grinned. I was born for this. I also brought in Enzo, posing as one of the waiters. He'd be the one to serve the papers. The night before the dinner, I sat in my living room, staring at the envelope with King's name on it. Divorce papers, fraud allegations, full documentation. I didn't cry. I didn't hesitate. I just placed it in my bag and zipped it shut. The next evening, I dressed carefully. Black dress, red lipstick, simple jewelry. I wanted to look like a woman in control, not one in mourning. The restaurant was candlelit, intimate. Everyone arrived on time. King kissed my cheek. Lindsay hugged me. Mom handed me a gift bag. "You look beautiful," she said. "Thanks," I replied. "I feel reborn." We sat, toasted, laughed. King stood to make a speech. "To Christine," he said, raising his glass, "a woman of grace, of forgiveness, of strength." Everyone clapped. Cynthia smiled at me like she'd won. I clinked my water glass and leaned toward the nearest waiter, Enzo. "We're ready," I whispered. He nodded and stepped forward. "King," he said, loud enough for the room to hush. "You've been served." He handed King the envelope. King blinked. "What the hell is this?" "Divorce," I said, standing, "and a full list of charges: fraud, theft, misappropriation of funds." Lindsay gasped. "What?" "Sit down," I snapped. Cynthia stood. "Christine, what are you doing?" "Exposing the truth." I gestured to the videographer, who pressed play on the projector. Footage rolled, hotel security cam, King and Lindsay, elevator, kisses, dates, room service. Gasps echoed. Then came the screenshots, bank transfers, emails, the voice memo. Cynthia's voice filled the room. "We need to keep Christine compliant." She turned pale. "Turn that off." "No," I said. "We're just getting started." I looked at Delilah. "You helped cover it. You lied to my face." She stammered. "I didn't know." "You did." Then I turned to my father. "And you? You let it happen. You let them ruin me." He looked down. I pulled out one last envelope and slid it across the table to him. "What's this?" he asked. "Your DNA results." He opened it, read, froze. "You're not my biological father," I said. Cynthia gasped. "Surprise," I added. "That's what happens when you lie for a living. The truth finds its way out." The room was silent. I smiled. "Happy birthday to me." The silence after I said those words stretched so long, I could hear the flicker of the candles. Dad, or the man I used to call Dad, just stared at the paper in his hands like it was written in a foreign language. Cynthia's voice broke through first. "You had no right." "I had every right," I said calmly. "You lied to me my whole life." "That's not the point." "No, the point is, you all sat back and let me be humiliated. You watched me unravel while you protected them." Lindsay had her hands over her face, shoulders shaking. King was flipping through the divorce papers like he could undo them with enough speed. "Is this a joke?" he muttered. "You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm very serious," I said. "You're being sued for fraud, adultery, and theft. You'll be lucky if you get to keep your toothbrush." He stood, voice rising. "You don't get to do this to me. You did this to yourself." Lindsay looked up, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "Christine, please." "Don't. Not now." Shanice stood quietly, sipping her wine like she was watching a play. Cynthia pointed a trembling finger at her. "And you? You helped her?" Shanice raised her eyebrows. "I helped her survive." Delilah slammed her hand on the table. "This is sick. You planned this?" "Every detail," I said, "even the seating chart." Spencer finally spoke. "We should all calm down." "Spencer," I said, "you knew, and you said nothing, so sit down and shut up." He sank back into his chair. The projector screen behind me flicked to the final slide. Bank statements, boutique records, and a notarized document showing King had funneled $60,000 from our joint equity line into Lindsay's business account. I turned to Lindsay. "You owe me 60 grand. She shook her head, whispering, "I didn't know. He said it was a gift." "You knew. You just didn't care." King's voice cracked. "You're blowing up your whole life for what? Revenge?" "No," I said. "For truth. For closure. For me." A man in a navy suit stepped forward from the corner of the room. "King Walsh?" King blinked. "Who the hell are you?" "I'm with the state's Financial Crimes Division. We'd like to ask you a few questions about the funds transferred from your wife's equity account. Cynthia gasped. You brought the police? Not yet, I said, but they're watching, and they're very interested in your trust fund, Mom. Her face drained of color. You can't touch that, she snapped. Actually, I can. Turns out, when you use a trust to hide assets and manipulate your adult child, the law has something to say about it. Dad finally spoke. Christine, this is going too far. I looked at him. You're not even my father. You don't get a vote. He flinched. The man from Financial Crimes handed King a card. We'll be in touch. He left, and the room stayed frozen in place. Then Shanice cleared her throat. Since we're all being honest, Lindsay, I bought the lease to your boutique last week. Lindsay's head jerked up. What? It's mine now, including the unpaid debts your name's attached to. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. Lindsay stood so fast her chair fell over. You can't do this. You can't just take my life. You took mine, I said, standing too. You took my husband, my money, my family, and you thought I'd just roll over. Tears streamed down her face. I didn't mean to. Save it. King stepped toward me. Christine, look, we can work this out. We can fix this. I laughed. You think this is a negotiation? I made mistakes, okay? But I still love you. You don't even know what love is. He reached for my arm, and I stepped back. Touch me again, and I'll add assault to the list. He froze. I turned to the room. You all lied. You all knew. And you let me drown. No one met my eyes. You taught me silence. You taught me shame. And now I'm teaching you consequences. I walked to the door, Shanice right behind me. King called out, You'll regret this. I paused, looked over my shoulder. No, I said, you will. We stepped into the hallway. The door shut behind us like a final chapter slamming closed. Outside, the air was cool and sharp. I walked to the alley behind the restaurant, leaned against the brick wall, and looked at myself in the mirror of my compact. Red lipstick still perfect, eyes clear, hands steady. I smiled. Happy birthday to me. The fallout didn't wait until morning. By the time I got home that night, my phone was blowing up. Missed calls from King, Lindsay, Mom, even Delilah, who hadn't called me in months before all this. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I poured a glass of wine, kicked off my heels, and sat on the couch while Shanice scrolled through social media. Girl, it's already online, she said, holding up her phone. Some blogger posted about the restaurant drama. Someone must have leaked it. I raised an eyebrow. Who? She shrugged. Could have been anyone. That videographer had a long lens, and you know how fast gossip flies in this town. I sipped my wine. Good, let them talk. The next morning, I woke up to a headline. Local boutique owner caught in financial scandal tied to alleged affair with sister's husband. Lindsay's face was right there, under harsh lighting and a crooked smile. King's name was bolded. Mine wasn't mentioned directly, but anyone who knew us could fill in the blanks. I opened my email. Enzo had sent me a new file. Subject, Trust Fund, Final Nails. Inside were scanned documents showing how Mom had moved money from the trust into a private investment account, one that listed King as a silent partner. It was all under the radar, all illegal. I forwarded it to my lawyer. She replied within minutes. This is enough to freeze the fund and open a civil suit. Are you ready? I typed back, light the match. By noon, King called again. I let it ring. Then the texts started. We need to talk. You're ruining everything. I'm sorry, okay? Just stop. Then one from Lindsay. Please, don't do this. I didn't know about the money. I swear. I didn't reply. Instead, I drove to the boutique. The windows were covered in brown paper. A sign said, closed for renovation. But I knew better. Shanice had already started the foreclosure process. The lease was hers. The debt was King's. The dream was over. I stepped inside with her key just to see it one last time. Shelves half-stocked, a rack of overpriced dresses, the smell of vanilla candles trying to cover up desperation. I walked to the back office and opened the drawer Lindsay used to keep her receipts in. There were photos taped to the wall, her and King, smiling, one of them on a boat, one at the beach. I pulled them down, one by one. That afternoon, I got a call from Enzo. "You're not going to believe this," he said. "Try me." King tried to move some of the funds offshore, but he used a flagged account and it triggered an alert. Is he being investigated? Already is, and now they're watching him closely. He's got a meeting with investigators tomorrow. I smiled. Perfect. That evening I got an unexpected knock at my door. It was King. I didn't open the door fully, just enough to see his face. He looked tired, unshaven, like the weight of everything was finally settling in. "Christine," he said, "please." I didn't answer. I didn't mean for this to happen. I made mistakes, but this is too far. I stared at him. "You loved me once," he said. "Doesn't that count for anything?" I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "You loved yourself?" I said. "I just got caught in the crossfire." He reached for my hand. I pulled back. "You're not sorry," I added. "You're scared." He didn't deny it. "Lindsay's a mess," he said. "She's not eating. She's crying all day. You've destroyed her." "She destroyed herself." "She's your sister." "No," I said. "She was my sister. Now she's just someone I used to protect." He looked at me for a long time. "You're not the same woman I married?" "Thank God." He turned and walked down the steps, shoulders slumped. I didn't watch him leave. The next day, Shanice and I met for lunch. She was grinning before she even sat down. "Cynthia's freaking out," she said. "She called me." "She called you?" "Apparently she thinks I can talk you down." I raised an eyebrow. "And did you?" "I told her you were busy building your empire." I laughed. "Good." "She said you're evil," Shanice added. I took a bite of my sandwich. "Let her." "She also said Josiah moved out." I paused. "Really?" "Yup. Apparently he's been quiet since the DNA reveal. She's losing control." I leaned back in my chair. Took long enough. Shanice looked at me. "You okay?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I'm free." That night I lit a candle in the living room. The same scent Lindsay used to burn, vanilla and coconut. I watched the flame flicker, then blew it out. I sat in silence, letting the quiet wash over me. Then I walked to the mirror in the hallway, stared at my reflection. No more pretending, no more shrinking, just me. Finally! The boutique was officially shut down by Friday. Shanice sent me a photo, chains on the door, a bright orange foreclosure notice slapped across the glass. The caption read, "And just like that, poof." I didn't reply. I just stared at the screen, then locked my phone and set it face down. An hour later, King showed up at my office. He didn't knock, just walked in like he still had the right. "Christine, we need to talk." I didn't look up from my laptop. "You need to leave." "I'm not going anywhere until you hear me out." I stood. "You have 30 seconds. He closed the door behind him, running a hand through his hair. "I'm losing everything. The business, the accounts, my reputation. You should have thought about that before you stole from me." "I didn't steal." "You forged my signature, King." His mouth opened, then closed again. I walked around the desk and stood in front of him. "You lied, you cheated, you used me, and now you're shocked there are consequences?" He looked desperate. "I didn't think you'd actually go through with it." "That's the problem. None of you did." He stepped closer. "I made a mistake, but I still love you." I laughed. "You don't even know what love looks like." "Christine, get out." He didn't move. So I opened the door and said it louder. "Get out!" People in nearby offices turned to look. King's jaw clenched, but he walked out without another word. I shut the door behind him and locked it. That night, Lindsay called. I let it go to voicemail. Then she texted, "Please, just talk to me. I'm not okay." I stared at the message for a long time before finally calling Shanice. She says she's not okay. She wasn't okay when she was screwing your husband either. I know. Don't let guilt sneak in now. You warned her. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I'm not going to respond. Good. Let her sit in it. The next day I went to Mom's house. I didn't call ahead. She opened the door in a silk robe, hair undone, eyes puffy. "Well," she said, "if it isn't the executioner." "Don't start." She stepped aside and let me in. The living room looked like a war zone, papers everywhere, empty wine glasses, a half-eaten tray of cheese and crackers. "Josiah moved out," she said, like it was my fault. "I heard. He won't answer my calls. He says he's ashamed." "He should be." She turned on me. "You always had to be the righteous one, the perfect one. You think you're better than all of us?" "No," I said. "I think I'm the only one who didn't lie." Her face twisted. "You humiliated this family." "No," I said again. "You did that when you chose to protect Lindsay instead of me. She's fragile. She's selfish. She's your sister." "Not anymore." Cynthia's voice broke. "You've ruined everything." I looked around the room. "No, I just pulled the mask off." She sat down on the couch, suddenly looking 10 years older. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. I just came to say goodbye." She looked up, startled. "Goodbye?" "I'm done, Mom, with all of you." "You can't mean that." "I do." I turned and walked out. She didn't follow. Later that night, Shanice and I sat on my balcony, watching the city lights. "You burned it all down," she said. "How does it feel?" I thought for a second. "Like breathing after holding my breath for 10 years. She smiled. "That's poetic." "I'm not trying to be poetic. I'm just finally honest." She handed me a glass of wine. "To honesty." We clinked glasses. The next morning I got a call from Enzo. "King's being officially charged, wire fraud, forgery, and misuse of funds." "Good. He'll probably get a plea deal, but he's done. No more business accounts, no more investor access." "Perfect. And Lindsay?" "She's broke. Boutique's gone. Credit's wrecked." I let out a breath. "Thank you, Enzo." "Anytime." After I hung up, I got dressed and walked to the mirror by the front door. No makeup, no jewelry, just me. I looked myself in the eyes. "You did it," I whispered. My phone buzzed again. A new message from Lindsay. "I'm sorry. I didn't know how to stop. I just wanted to feel loved." I didn't reply. I deleted the message and turned off my phone. Then I walked outside into the sunlight and didn't look back. The coffee shop was quiet, tucked into a corner of a bookstore, the kind of place where people whispered even when they didn't have to. I sat across from Shanice, a steaming mug between us, my fingers tracing the rim. She leaned forward. "You sure you want to do this?" I nodded. "It's time." She reached into her tote and pulled out a small black flash drive. "Everything's on here. Audio, documents, timelines, cleaned up and ready." I took it and slipped it into my purse. "Thanks. You still going with the podcast angle?" "Yeah. First episode drops next week. Title's already scheduled." They all knew. Shanice grinned. "You're going to blow people's minds." I smiled back, but it didn't quite reach my eyes. She noticed. "You okay?" "I'm adjusting." She nodded like she understood. "That part's hard." We sat in silence for a minute. Then she said, "You know, I ran into Spencer at the grocery store." I raised an eyebrow. "And?" He pretended not to see me, took a hard left into the frozen peas. I laughed. "Coward." "Delilah got fired, by the way," she added. "Apparently her firm didn't like being associated with a scandal." "Shame," I said flatly. Shanice stirred her tea. Your mom's been quiet, huh? She's embarrassed and angry, but mostly embarrassed. She'll spin it somehow. She always does. Let her, I said. I'm not playing anymore. We finished our drinks, hugged goodbye, and I walked out into the cool air, the city humming around me. Back at home, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. The podcast site was ready. The trailer had already gained traction. People love a messy family story, especially when it's real. I clicked through the comments. Some were supportive, some skeptical. A few were cruel. I didn't care. I opened the flash drive and uploaded the first full episode. My voice filled the room through the speakers. Hi, my name is Christine, and this is the story of how my family watched me drown and smiled while I sank. I listened for a few minutes, then closed the laptop. The doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door and froze. Lindsay stood there holding a letter in her hand. Her eyes were puffy, her hair pulled back into a messy bun. No makeup, no performance. Can I come in? She asked. I didn't move. I'm not here to fight, she added quickly. I wrote something, that's all. She held out the envelope. I took it but didn't step aside. I don't expect you to read it, she said. I just needed to say it. Somehow. I nodded once. She turned and walked back down the steps, slow and quiet. I closed the door. I didn't open the letter right away. I placed it on the counter and stared at it like it might explode. Then I picked it up, walked to the sink, and lit a match. The envelope caught quickly, curling at the edges, the paper inside blackening before I could even see the first word. I dropped it into the sink and turned on the faucet. Some truths don't need to be read. They need to burn. The next morning I went for a walk. No phone, no music, just me and the sound of my shoes hitting pavement. I passed the boutique, still empty, the windows dusty now. A for lease sign hung crooked in the window. I kept going. At the park, I sat on a bench and watched a little girl chase a pigeon, laughing so hard she nearly fell over. Her mom called after her, smiling. I didn't cry. I didn't feel sad. I just watched. When I got home, there was a box on my doorstep. No name, no return address. I brought it inside, opened it carefully. Inside was a photo album. Old family pictures, me and Lindsay as kids, birthday parties, Christmas mornings, a note tucked in the front page. I thought you might want to keep the good parts. It was Mom's handwriting. I closed the album without flipping through it. I put it on the shelf in the hallway, not to forget, not to forgive, just to say, I survived this. Later that night, I uploaded the second episode of the podcast. This one was about gaslighting, about how people make you question your own reality until you don't trust your own name. I ended it with a simple line. Sometimes healing isn't about making peace. It's about reclaiming your voice. I turned off the lights, crawled into bed, and stared at the ceiling. No more pretending. No more begging for love that came with conditions. No more shrinking to make others comfortable. I didn't need them to understand. I didn't need them to say sorry. I just needed to be free. And now I was.
The photo hit my Instagram feed like a punch to the gut. There was my brother Jaden sprawled across the Spanish Steps in Rome, Ray-Bans perched on his head, gelato in hand. The caption read, "Living my best life. The gap year that blessed." My name is Addison, and that photo was taken with my college fund. I still remember the exact moment I learned about the theft. Mum had called me into the kitchen, her face arranged in that practiced expression of sympathy that never quite reached her eyes. "Honey, we need to discuss your university plans. I already had my acceptance letter to MIT, engineering, full of dreams about sustainable energy and changing the world. The kind of dreams that cost money. We've had to make some adjustments," she said, stirring her tea with mechanical precision. "Jaden needs this time to find himself. Europe will help him figure out his path." "My path was already figured out," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "We've been planning this for years. You're the responsible one, sweetie. You'll find a way." That was 12 years ago. Now I'm standing in my penthouse office, staring at the skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows that cost more than that entire gap year. The irony isn't lost on me. Ms. Stewart? Lexi appears in the doorway, tablet in hand. Your speech for the Global Energy Summit is ready for review. Thanks, Lexi. Just leave it on my desk. She hesitates. There's something else. Your mother called. 3 times. Of course she did. I haven't spoken to her in 8 months, not since that disaster of a Thanksgiving where Jaden announced his latest business venture. Some crypto real estate hybrid that made about as much sense as his personality. Should I keep blocking her? Lexi asks. Yes. No. Wait. I massage my temples. What did she say? She was crying. Something about Jaden. Of course it's about Jaden. It's always about Jaden. Send it to voicemail. I turn back to the windows, to the empire I built from scratch. Student loans, 3 jobs, sleeping on a friend's couch. Every rejection, every setback, every moment of doubt. I transformed it all into fuel. Now my company's revolutionising solar storage technology, and that acceptance letter to MIT hangs framed in my office like a battle scar. My phone buzzes. Voicemail. Addison, please. Mum's voice breaks through the speaker. It's Jaden. We need your help. He's in trouble. Real trouble this time. Please call. Delete. The doorbell rings. I check the security feed on my phone and freeze. There she is, Naomi Stewart, my mother, standing in my hallway looking like she aged a decade since Thanksgiving. Her mascara's smeared, her designer bag is scuffed, and she's wearing the same pearl necklace she wore the day she told me my college fund was gone. Miss Kay Stewart, Lexi's voice comes through the intercom. Your mother's here. Should I... Let her up. I smooth my blazer, check my reflection in the window. Power suit, perfect makeup, not a hair out of place. Success is the best revenge, they say. But revenge isn't what I'm after. I want justice. The elevator dings. Addison. Mom rushes forward, arms outstretched. I step back. This is a surprise, I say, my voice professionally neutral. I was just heading to a meeting. Please, it's important. Your father's in the car. Jaden's in trouble. When isn't he? This is different. She clutches her pearls, a tell she's had since I was little. He could lose everything. We could lose everything. I walk to my desk, press the intercom. Lexi, cancel my next meeting and bring us some coffee. I gesture to the sleek chairs facing my desk. Sit, Mum. Tell me everything. She sinks into the chair, relief washing over her face. She thinks I'm going to help. She thinks money can fix this, just like it fixed everything else in Jaden's life. But she doesn't know what I know. Doesn't know I've been watching, waiting. Doesn't know that Lexi's been tracking Jaden's businesses for months. Doesn't know that Karma's finally caught up with her golden boy. I'll help, I say, and her eyes fill with tears of gratitude. But first, call Dad up here. We need to talk about that gap year in Rome. The truth about revenge. It's not served cold. It's served exactly when it's ready. And I've been preparing this dish for 12 years. Dad looked smaller than I remembered, hunched in my visitor's chair like a scolded child. Mum hadn't stopped fidgeting with her pearls since he arrived. The silence stretched between us, broken only by the gentle hum of my office's eco-friendly climate control system. Coffee? Lexi appeared with a tray, her professional smile masking what I knew was intense curiosity. Thank you, Lexi. Hold my calls. I waited until she left before speaking again. So, tell me about this trouble Jaden's in. Mum and Dad exchanged glances. Classic Stewart family communication, all meaningful looks and unspoken words. It's complicated, Dad finally said, his voice rough. Some investments went bad. How bad? 7 figures, Mum whispered. Maybe 8. I took a slow sip of coffee, letting that sink in. And the legal troubles? They both startled. How did you... I'm a CEO, Mum. I have resources. I set my cup down with a soft clink. Tell me everything. No editing. The story spilled out in pieces. Bad investments were just the beginning. Jaden had created a web of companies, each one more questionable than the last. He'd leveraged assets he didn't own, made promises he couldn't keep. Classic Jaden, always believing he was one deal away from striking gold. He was trying to make something of himself, Mum insisted. Like you did. No, I corrected her. I built something. Jaden's been playing pretend with other people's money. That's not fair, Dad protested. Fair? The word tasted bitter. Let's talk about fair. Did you know I worked as a janitor my first year of college, cleaning classrooms at 4 a.m. so I could afford textbooks? Mum's hand flew to her throat. We didn't know. Because you never asked. I stood up, walking to the window. But now you're here asking. How much do you need? 2 million, Dad said quietly. To stop the creditors, to keep our house. I turned back to them. Your house is involved. Jaden needed collateral for a loan, Mum explained, tears welling up. He promised it was temporary. Of course he did. I returned to my desk, pressed the intercom. Lexi, could you come in, please? She appeared instantly, tablet ready. Pull up the files we have on Jaden's companies, all of them. Mum's eyes widened. You've been investigating him? I've been protecting myself. I nodded to Lexi. Show them. She projected a complex web of shell companies and transactions onto my office wall. Mum gasped. Dad's face went ash grey. Your son isn't just in trouble, I said. He's committed fraud, and you're both implicated because you signed documents without reading them. We trusted him, Dad whispered. Like you trusted him with my college fund? The words hung in the air like smoke. Mum started crying in earnest now, but I felt nothing. 12 years of nothing. I can help, I said finally, but there are conditions. They leaned forward eagerly. First, I need full access to everything. Bank records, contracts, emails, everything. Done, Dad said quickly. Second, Jaden agrees to meet with me. Here, tomorrow. Mum nodded frantically. And third, I paused, making sure I had their complete attention. You both need to understand something. This help comes with consequences, real ones. Are you prepared for that? They nodded again, probably not even hearing the warning in my voice. They never did listen properly. I'll have my lawyer draw up the paperwork, I said, effectively dismissing them. Lexi will contact you with the meeting details. They stood, relief evident in every movement. Mum tried to hug me, but I stepped back. Thank you, sweetheart, she sniffled. You're saving us all. If she noticed my lack of response, she didn't show it. Some things never change. After they left, Lexi lingered. Should I call Joanna? Yes. And then I need you to dig deeper. Every transaction, every partner, every penny. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. You're not really going to bail them out, are you? I smiled, thinking of that Instagram photo from Rome. Of all the photos that followed, Jaden in Paris, in Barcelona, in Greece, each one paid for with my future. No, Lexi. I'm going to teach them about consequences. She nodded and left. I picked up my phone, dialing a familiar number. Lyle, it's Addison. Remember how you said you owed me one? I think it's time to collect. How would you like an exclusive story about fraud in the tech startup world? Sometimes karma needs a little push, and I've gotten very good at pushing. Holy shit! Joanna dropped the stack of papers onto her desk. Your brother's not just in trouble, he's in deep trouble. I sat across from her in her corner office, watching Seattle's rain trace patterns on the window. How bad? Wire fraud, securities fraud, false statements to financial institutions? She flipped through pages. He's been running a classic Ponzi scheme, but with a tech startup twist, using new investor money to pay old investors while pretending to develop revolutionary trading algorithms. Sounds about right. I reached for the documents. What about my parents? Technically complicit, but probably too clueless to face charges, though they'll lose everything when this implodes. When? Not if. Joanna leaned forward. Addison, this is going to blow up regardless of what you do. The question is whether you want to control the explosion. My phone buzzed. A text from Lexi. Found something big. Call ASAP. Excuse me, I told Joanna, stepping into the hallway. Lexi answered on the first ring. Remember that startup Jaden claimed was developing AI for cryptocurrency trading? The one that raised 12 million? It doesn't exist, like it all. No employees, no office, no technology, just a really good website and some fake LinkedIn profiles. I pressed my forehead against the cool window glass. Send everything to Joanna. Back in the office, Joanna was already reading Lexi's email. This changes things. We're beyond civil litigation now. This is criminal territory. Good. She looked up sharply. Addison, stop. Think about what you're doing. I am thinking, very clearly. This isn't just revenge anymore. This is your family. My family? I laughed. My family stopped being my family the day they decided Jaden's European vacation was more important than my education. And now you're going to destroy them? No. I sat down again. I'm going to let them destroy themselves. I'm just making sure they can't drag anyone else down with them. Joanna sighed, reaching for her coffee. What's your plan? First we document everything. Then we meet with them tomorrow, all of them. I'll offer to help, but with conditions they'll never accept. And then? Then we let karma do its job. I pulled out my phone, showing her Lyle's response to my message. With a little help from the press. Your ex-boyfriend, the reporter? Really? He's been investigating tech fraud. This story will make his career. Joanna rubbed her temples. You've thought of everything, haven't you? 12 years is a long time to plan. And what about after, when it's all over? I stood up, gathering my things. Then I'll finally be free. Or empty, she said quietly. I pretended not to hear her. Back at my office, Lexi was waiting with more revelations. I found the money trail from your college fund, she said, pulling up documents. Want to see where it really went? The numbers told a story I'd always suspected, not just Europe. Designer clothes, luxury hotels, first-class everything. My entire future converted into Jaden's Instagram highlights. There's more, Lexi continued. He's been using your parents' house as collateral for multiple loans. They don't just risk losing it. They might face criminal charges for loan fraud. Perfect. I smiled, but it felt hollow. Send everything to Joanna. And confirm tomorrow's meeting. Already done. Conference room A, 10 a.m. She hesitated. Are you sure about this? Why does everyone keep asking me that? Because revenge changes people, and I like who you are now. I looked around my office at the awards, the patents, the evidence of everything I'd built from nothing. Sometimes change is necessary. My phone buzzed again. A text from Mum. Jaden's nervous about tomorrow. Please be gentle with him. Gentle. Like they were gentle when they took my future. Like they were gentle every Christmas when Jaden got everything while I got practical gifts. Like they were gentle when they told me to just figure it out on my own. I texted back, looking forward to seeing everyone. Then I called Lyle. I've got something for you, I said when he answered. But you'll need to wait until after tomorrow's meeting to run it. How big are we talking? Career-making big. Tech fraud, fake companies, millions missing. The works, he whistled. And you're sure about this? It's your brother. No, I corrected him. It's justice. After hanging up, I stood at my window, watching the city lights flicker on. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, karma would finally arrive. And I would be there to hold the door open. Conference room A felt like a courtroom. Floor-to-ceiling windows on one side, a massive screen on the other, and my family looking small and uncertain around the gleaming table. Jaden wore his best business meeting outfit, probably bought with someone else's money. Thanks for coming, I said, taking my seat at the head of the table. Lexi will be joining us shortly with the financial analysis. Do we really need her here? Jaden asked, flashing his trademark smile. This is family business. Everything about this meeting is business. I opened my laptop. Let's start with your companies. How many are there currently? He shifted in his chair. 4 main entities, but they're all interconnected for tax purposes. Tax evasion purposes, you mean? Mum gasped. Addison! No, let's be accurate. I pulled up the first document on the screen. Quantum AI Solutions. Founded 18 months ago. Raised $12 million. Claims to have revolutionary cryptocurrency trading algorithms. That's right, Jaden said quickly. We're in beta testing now. Interesting. I clicked to the next slide. Because according to state records, you have no employees, no office lease, no registered patents, no actual technology. The colour drained from his face. But you did have expenses. Another click. Like this $50,000 weekend in Vegas. Or this yacht rental in Miami. Those were business meetings, he protested. Networking events. With Instagram models? Dad cleared his throat. Addison, we came here for help, not accusations. You came here because you're desperate. I turned to face him. Did you know when you signed those loan documents that Jayden had already mortgaged the house 3 times? Mum's hand flew to her pearls. 3 times? Show them, Lexi. She entered silently, tablet in hand, and projected a complex web of transactions onto the screen. Mr. and Mrs. Stewart, your signatures appear on multiple loan applications, each using your house as collateral. The total borrowed amount is approximately $3.2 million. That's impossible, Dad whispered. We only signed once. Digital signatures are easy to copy, I said. Aren't they, Jayden? He stood up abruptly. This is bullshit. I came here for help, not to be attacked. Sit down. My voice could have frozen hell. We're just getting started. Addison, please, Mum pleaded. We can work this out. Like we worked out my college fund. I clicked to another document. Speaking of which, let's review where that money really went. The screen filled with credit card statements, hotel bills, first-class airline tickets, designer purchases. $120,000, I said quietly. That's what my future was worth to you. And here's how Jayden spent it. Images appeared. His old Instagram posts. Paris, Rome, Barcelona, each one tagged with found blessed. That's ancient history, Jayden snapped. I was young. So was I, but only one of us had their dreams funded. Is that what this is about? He laughed bitterly. You're still bitter about college? No. I stood up slowly. This is about consequences, about karma, about justice. What are you talking about? I've already contacted the SEC. The words fell like bombs. And the FBI. And tomorrow, a very detailed expose about your fraudulent companies will hit the press. Mum started crying. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years. But Jayden launched himself across the table at me. Lexi moved faster than I'd ever seen her move, putting herself between us. Security appeared in the doorway. You bitch! Jayden shouted. You'll destroy everything. No, I corrected him. You destroyed everything. I'm just making sure you can't hide from it anymore. We're your family. Family? I laughed. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't forge signatures. Family doesn't create fake companies to scam investors. Please, Mum sobbed. We can fix this. Actually, we can't. I gathered my things. The SEC will be contacting you all directly. I suggest getting separate lawyers. And Dad, better start packing up the house. You're enjoying this, Jayden accused. I paused at the door. No, I'm not enjoying this at all. But someone once told me I was the responsible one. Time to prove them right. Security escorted them out. Through my office windows, I watched them huddle in the parking lot, gesturing wildly, falling apart. Lexi appeared at my side. Lyle's ready with the story. It goes live at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Good. I turned away from the window. Send everything to Joanna. She'll handle any legal fallout. Are you okay? I thought about that girl who cried over her lost college fund. About the woman I became because of it. About karma and justice and the thin line between them. I'm free, I said. And for the first time in 12 years, it felt true. The pounding on my door started at 5:58 a.m., 2 minutes before Lyle's story was set to break. I didn't need to check the security feed to know it was Jayden. Open the damn door, Addison. His voice echoed through the hallway. We need to talk. I pressed the intercom. Security has already been notified. Leave now. You can't do this to me, to our parents. I'm not doing anything. The SEC is. I'll tell everyone about you, he threatened. About the real you, how cold you are, how you've always been jealous. I opened the door. Jayden stumbled back, surprised by my calm appearance in a crisp business suit. Jealous? I smiled. Of what? Your fake companies? Your stolen money? Your complete lack of consequences until now? You don't understand. No, you don't understand. I stepped into the hallway. Check your phone. The story just went live. He frantically pulled out his phone. I watched his face crumble as he read the headline. Tech startup fraud. The $1 million house of cards. This will destroy me, he whispered. Like you destroyed my future. That was different. I was finding myself. And what did you find, Jayden? Besides other people's money? His phone started buzzing. Investors, probably. Or lawyers. Or both. Mum and Dad will lose everything, he tried one last time. They lost me years ago. They just didn't notice. Security arrived then, 2 officers I knew well. Miss Stewart, everything okay? Please escort my brother out and update his photo on the banned list. You can't, Jaden started. I can. I did. Goodbye, Jaden. Back in my apartment, I watched the story spread. Lyle had done an excellent job. Detailed, damning, impossible to deny. My phone lit up with a text from Joanna. It's hitting all the major outlets. You okay? Before I could respond, Mom called. Then Dad. Then Mom again. Finally, I answered. How could you? Mom's voice broke. He's your brother. Funny. Where was that family loyalty when it was my future on the line? That was different. We were trying to help him. And I'm trying to help you, I said calmly, by stopping him before he drags you into federal prison. We signed those papers willingly. No, you signed one paper willingly. He forged your signatures on the others. Check the dates. You were in Florida for half of them. Silence. My God, she whispered. The FBI will be contacting you today. Tell them everything. It's your only chance to avoid charges. What about Jaden? What about me? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Did you ever ask that? Did you ever wonder how I managed college? Or my first apartment? Or starting my company? Addison? I lived on ramen noodles for 2 years. I worked 3 jobs. I slept on a yoga mat because I couldn't afford a bed. Where were your maternal concerns then? We thought you could handle it, she said softly. You were always so strong. I had to be. You didn't give me a choice. My other line beeped. Joanna. Mum, I have to go. Remember what I said about the FBI. Wait, her voice cracked. What you said yesterday about the college fund, about how Jaden spent it. Was that true? Check his Instagram history, it's all there. Every penny of my future, documented in perfect filtered detail. I hung up and took Joanna's call. The SEC just froze all of Jaden's accounts, she reported. And your parents too, since they're connected. Good. The house will go into foreclosure by the end of the week. They can stay with Aunt Sarah in Wisconsin. Addison, Joanna paused. Are you sure this is what you wanted? I walked to my window, looking out at the city I'd conquered through sheer determination. What I wanted was to go to college, without working myself half to death. What I wanted was parents who cared about my dreams as much as Jaden's. What I wanted was a family that didn't treat me like an ATM with unlimited withdrawals. And now I want justice. And for the first time in my life, I have the power to get it. My phone buzzed with another text. Lexi. Your brother's trying to book a flight to Mexico, I smiled. Not with frozen accounts, he's not. The reporters are starting to call, Joanna said. What should I tell them? Tell them. I thought of that Instagram photo on the Spanish steps, of all the sacrifices that paid for it. Tell them karma doesn't have a statute of limitations. Sometimes the best revenge isn't serving justice. It's watching justice serve itself. The news van started arriving at my parents' house around noon. I watched the live coverage from my office. Sound muted. As reporters crowded their perfectly manicured lawn, the same lawn I'd mowed every weekend to earn pocket money while Jaden lounged by the pool. FBI just released their statement, Lexi announced, entering with her tablet. Want to hear it? I nodded. The Bureau is investigating allegations of widespread securities fraud involving multiple technology startups. We are working closely with the SEC and... My phone buzzed. Lyle. Your brother just called me, he said when I answered. Offered to tell me the real story in exchange for killing the article. What did you say? I told him the real story was already out. Then I recorded the call and sent it to the FBI. I smiled. Always the thorough reporter. He's desperate, Addison. Said some pretty ugly things about you. Let me guess. I'm jealous, bitter, cold-hearted. Among other things. You okay? Before I could answer, Joanna burst into my office. Turn on Channel 4, now. Lexi grabbed the remote. Jaden's face filled the screen, standing outside his luxury apartment building. My sister's vindictive attempt to destroy our family, he was saying. She's always been jealous of my success. Your success? I unmuted the TV. Show them your bank statements, Jaden. Show them where the money really came from. As if hearing me, a reporter shouted, "Is it true you used investor funds for personal expenses? Those were legitimate business expenses, like the yacht in Miami." Another reporter. "The gambling in Vegas?" No comment. Jayden retreated toward the building entrance. "Talk to my lawyer." "Does he have a lawyer?" Lexi asked. "Not yet," Joanna answered, "but he'll need one. The FBI is on their way to his apartment now." My phone buzzed again. "Dad!" "The police are here," he said without preamble. "With papers?" "Let them serve them, and tell them everything. Your mother's hysterical. She'll survive, she always does. Addison," his voice cracked, "I'm sorry about college, about everything. 12 years too late, Dad. I know. We thought we were doing the right thing. Jayden was so fragile. And I wasn't? Or did you just not care?" Silence. "The FBI will want to know about the loan documents," I continued. "Tell them Jayden forged your signatures. It's your only defence. He's our son. And I'm your daughter. Remember that while you're packing up the house." I hung up as Lexi pointed to the TV. They were showing my company's building now, reporters clustered outside. "Want me to make a statement?" she asked. "No. Let them speculate. Addison," Joanna sat across from me, "the DA's office called. They're offering Jayden a deal if he cooperates. He won't take it. His ego won't let him. Your parents might lose everything. They already did. They just didn't know it until now." My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. A photo. I opened it and froze. It was me, age 18, in my janitor's uniform, cleaning classrooms at 4 a.m. Someone had taken it without my knowledge. Another text followed. "Remember this? I do. I saw you every morning while heading home from parties. Never said anything. Never helped. Some brother I was." I stared at the photo, memories flooding back. The exhaustion, the humiliation, the burning determination to succeed despite them all. "What is it?" Lexi asked, noting my expression. I showed her the photo. "Jayden's last attempt at manipulation. Is it working?" "No." I deleted the texts. "It's just confirming I did the right thing." The TV showed breaking news. FBI agents escorting Jayden from his building in handcuffs. Mum and Dad being served with papers on their front lawn. The empire of lies crumbling in real time. "Ms. Stewart?" My assistant's voice came through the intercom. "The New York Times is on line 1. They want a statement." I looked at Joanna. She nodded. "Put them through." "Ms. Stewart, about your brother's allegations." "My brother stole millions from investors while pretending to run legitimate businesses. The evidence speaks for itself." "And the personal aspects, the college fund?" I thought about that photo. About the girl in the janitor's uniform who refused to break. "Sometimes," I said carefully, "the biggest fraud isn't what shows up in bank statements. It's what families tell themselves to justify their choices." After hanging up, I stood at my window, watching the reporters below. "What now?" Lexi asked. "Now?" I smiled. "Now we watch Karma finish what it started." The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Jayden looked smaller too, in his prison-issued jumpsuit instead of his usual designer suits. He wouldn't look at me as he entered his guilty plea. "The defendant agrees to forfeit all assets gained through fraudulent activities," the prosecutor announced, "and will serve a minimum of 5 years in federal prison." Mum sobbed quietly in the back row. Dad stared straight ahead, face blank. I sat between Joanna and Lexi, expression neutral, watching justice unfold. The judge turned to Jayden. "Do you have anything to say before sentencing?" He stood slowly. I'm sorry. To the investors, to my parents." He paused. "To my sister. Save it," I muttered under my breath. Lexi squeezed my hand. After the sentencing, Mum tried to catch me in the hallway. "Addison, please. We're moving to Wisconsin next week. Can't we talk?" "About what? How you're living with Aunt Sarah because you lost your house? Or how you enabled Jayden until he destroyed himself? About making peace," she pleaded. "About family." "Family?" I laughed. "You know what I did last week? I established a scholarship fund for students who lost their college funds to family betrayal. That's my new definition of family." Dad approached, looking aged beyond his years. "The scholarship, what did you name it?" "The Justice Fund." I straightened my blazer. "Because sometimes Karma needs a little help." Outside the courthouse, reporters waited with cameras and microphones. Joanna stepped forward as my spokesperson. My client has no comment on today's proceedings. However, she is announcing a $1 million endowment to help disadvantaged students pursue higher education. Mr. Stewart, a reporter called out. What about your parents' house? I stopped, turned. What about my future? The one they stole? Sometimes karma comes full circle. Back at my office, Lexi had arranged everything I needed for the scholarship fund launch. The first applications are already coming in, she said, showing me her tablet. Students with stories just like yours. Schedule interviews with the top candidates, I told her. I want to meet them personally. There's something else. She hesitated. Your mother left this at reception. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a photo I'd never seen before. Me at my high school graduation, standing alone while the family clustered around Jaden in his new convertible. A note fell out. I see it now. I see everything we did wrong. I'm sorry we were blind for so long. Throw it away, I said. Are you sure? Before I could answer, Joanna rushed in. You need to see this. She pulled up a video on her phone. Jaden, being interviewed just before his sentencing. My sister wasn't wrong, he was saying, about any of it. I stole her future. And then I kept stealing from everyone else. I thought I was entitled to success without work. She proved me wrong. Delete it, I said. Addison. Joanna sat down. At some point, you have to let this go. Let it go? Like they let go of my dreams, my chances. No, like someone who's won, who's proven everyone wrong, who's built something meaningful from their pain. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. The scholarship fund. It's what you deserved back then. I'm proud of who you became, despite us. I stared at the message until the screen went dark. The first scholarship interviews are next week, Lexi reminded me gently. Want to review their stories? I nodded, grateful for the distraction. She pulled up the files. Dozens of young people with dreams bigger than their circumstances. Dreams like mine had been. This one. I pointed to a file. Single mom, working nights, straight A's. Just like you, Lexi said softly. Schedule her first. After they left, I stood at my window, watching the city lights come on. My phone buzzed again. Lyle. Follow-up stories running tomorrow, he said. About the scholarship fund. Want to comment? I thought about that graduation photo. About the girl who stood alone. About karma and justice and the thin line between vengeance and healing. Tell them. I paused. Tell them sometimes the best revenge is making sure no one else experiences your pain. That's not very vengeful, he noted. No, I agreed. It's better. I hung up and looked at the scholarship applications again, at all those dreams waiting to be funded, at all those futures waiting to be saved. Maybe Joanna was right. Maybe this was what winning really looked like. Not destroying your enemies, but building something they can't touch. Something that turns pain into purpose. Something that finally sets you free. The auditorium buzzed with nervous energy as I took the podium. 50 students sat before me, each clutching their scholarship acceptance letters from the Justice Fund. Behind them, proud parents dabbed tears and recorded videos. Welcome, I began, scanning the faces. You're here because someone told you your dreams weren't worth investing in. They were wrong. In the back, Lexi gave me a thumbs up. Joanna smiled encouragingly. My story started with a stolen college fund, I continued, with nights cleaning classrooms and days fighting sleep in lectures, with ramen noodles and yoga mat beds and the burning desire to prove everyone wrong. Movement at the entrance caught my eye. Mum and Dad slipped in, standing uncertainly by the door. I hadn't invited them. But this isn't about revenge, I said, gripping the podium tighter. It's about justice. About making sure no one else has to choose between their dreams and their dignity. The first scholarship recipient, Maria, sat in the front row. Single mom, straight A's, working nights, just like I had. Her young daughter coloured quietly beside her. Today, you're not just receiving money for college, you're receiving belief, investment. The thing I had to fight for, we're giving freely, because talent shouldn't have to beg for a chance to shine. A hand rose. One of the students. Miss Dahlia Stewart, is it true this fund came from your brother's restitution money? Yes. I met Mum's eyes across the room. Sometimes karma works in poetic ways. After the ceremony, Maria approached with her daughter. Thank you, she whispered, hugging me. This changes everything. No, I corrected her. You changed everything. We're just removing the obstacles. As the crowd thinned, Mum and Dad made their way forward. Dad looked older in his Wisconsin casual clothes, Mum more subdued without her pearls. That was quite a speech, Dad said. Why are you here? We saw the announcement in the paper, Mum explained. About the scholarship ceremony. We needed to see. See what? What real success looks like, Dad said quietly. Not Jaden's fake companies or borrowed glory, but this, building something that helps others. Bit late for that revelation. We know, Mum twisted her hands. But watching you up there, I finally understood. You didn't just succeed despite us. You succeeded to spite us, and somehow turned that spite into something beautiful. Lexi appeared at my elbow. Sorry to interrupt, but the Times reporter is waiting for your interview. Give me a minute. My parents turned to leave, but I called out, Wait! They froze. The next round of scholarships? I took a deep breath. We're focusing on students from Wisconsin. Since that's your new home, maybe you could help review applications. Mum's eyes filled with tears. Really? Don't make me regret this. We won't, Dad said firmly. Not again. After they left, Joanna joined me. That was unexpected. They're not forgiven, I clarified. But maybe they can help prevent other parents from making their mistakes. Speaking of prevention, she handed me her phone. An email from Jaden's prison account. Sis, watching the scholarship ceremony live stream from my cell. Finally understand what you built while I was pretending to build things. Maybe when I get out, I can help. Not with money or decisions, I've lost that right, but maybe with warning entitled kids about where that path leads. Proud of you. J. Delete it? Joanna asked. I stared at the screen, at the small olive branch extended from behind bars. No, I decided. Save it. Maybe karma isn't just about punishment. Maybe it's about transformation too. The Times reporter approached, notebook ready. Mr. Stewart, about the scholarship fund's future. The future? I looked around the auditorium, at Maria and her daughter, at the students clutching their acceptance letters, at the dreams finally being funded. The future is already here, I said, in every student who refuses to let someone else define their worth, in every dream that survives betrayal, in every story that turns pain into purpose. And your family? I thought about Mom and Dad reviewing applications in Wisconsin, about Jaden watching the live stream in his cell, about Karma's long, strange journey. Family isn't just blood, I answered. Sometimes it's the people who believe in you when your blood doesn't. Sometimes it's the dreams you build from the ashes of the ones they burned. And revenge, I smiled, thinking of that girl in the janitor's uniform, of how far she'd come, of how her pain had transformed into purpose. The best revenge isn't destruction, I said finally. It's creation, building something so beautiful that even those who hurt you have to admit you are worth investing in all along. That's the thing about karma. Sometimes it doesn't just balance the scales. Sometimes it builds new ones. I still remember the exact moment my future drove away in a cherry red Mustang. My college fund, transformed into 420 horsepower of betrayal, wrapped in a bow with my brother's name on it. My name is Lucille, and I was 18 when I learned that family loyalty has a price tag. Isn't it beautiful? My mother's voice dripped with pride as she filmed Reuben circling the driveway. He's worked so hard. He deserves this boost before starting college. I stood frozen on our front porch, still holding the acceptance letter from Stanford that had arrived that morning. The same letter I'd planned to celebrate with them over dinner. That's my college fund, isn't it? Oh, honey. Mum's camera didn't waver from Reuben's victory lap. You're so smart. You'll figure something out. You always do. Dad cleared his throat behind me. There are plenty of good state schools, Lucy, and you can always take out loans like other kids. The engine revved as Reuben pulled up beside us. His grin was blinding. Come on, sis. Take a ride with me. I felt sick. I have work in 20 minutes. Since when do you work? Reuben laughed. Since 3 months ago, at Denny's. Not that anyone had noticed. I'd been picking up every shift I could, saving for books and supplies. What a joke that seemed now. Mum finally lowered her phone. Lucille, don't be dramatic. Your brother needs reliable transportation for college. You know how dangerous public transit can be. And my education? What about that? You're stronger than him, Dad said quietly. You can handle it. I looked between them, Mum already turning back to Reuben, Dad avoiding my eyes, my brother gunning the engine of my future. Something inside me hardened. I have to go, I said, walking toward my beaten-up Honda Civic, the one I'd bought myself with summer job money. Lucy, wait, Reuben called out. We're having cake. Mum got your favourite. I stopped. My favourite is chocolate. That German apple thing in there is yours. The silence that followed was almost satisfying. At work, I mechanically filled coffee cups and took orders, my mind racing. The numbers wouldn't stop spinning. 4 years at Stanford, 60,000 per year, my measly savings, the crushing weight of loans. More coffee, hun? A regular customer, Barbara, held up her cup. Sorry, yes. I poured, trying to steady my shaking hands. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I forced a smile. Just college stress. You know how it is. Barbara nodded sympathetically. My daughter's applying too. These schools are so expensive now. Thank God for her college fund. We've been saving since she was born. The coffee pot nearly slipped from my grip. Must be nice, I whispered. During my break, I sat in the walk-in freezer, my unofficial crying spot, and made 3 calls. First to Stanford's financial aid office, then to a student loan provider, finally to the community college across town. My phone buzzed with a text from Reuben. Taking Melissa for a ride. She says the car is hot like me. I stared at my reflection in the freezer's steel wall. My eyes were red, but something else had changed. The hurt was still there, but now it had company. Cold, calculating anger. Order up! Jake, our cook, yelled through the window. I grabbed my notepad and stepped back into the dining room. Table 6 needed ranch dressing. Table 3 wanted their check. Normal people living normal lives while my world imploded. At midnight, I pulled into our driveway. The Mustang gleamed under the porch light, taunting me. I sat there for a long moment, then pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. The savings account I'd started at 16 had exactly $3,247.82 in it. Not even enough for one semester's books. Inside, on the kitchen counter, sat a piece of untouched German apple cake with a note. Saved you a slice. Ah. I dropped the plate into the trash, note and all. In my room, I opened my laptop and started searching. Student loans, work-study programs, scholarships, anything and everything. My acceptance letter to Stanford lay crumpled beside me, a dream turned to paper. Just wait, I whispered to my dark room. One day it'll be my turn. I didn't know then how long I'd have to wait, or how complete my revenge would be when it finally came. But sitting there, surrounded by the ruins of my carefully planned future, I made myself a promise. I would never need them again. And when the day came that they needed me, because it would come, I'd remember this moment. The sound of a Mustang engine roared in the distance. My brother, still out living his best life. I opened a new spreadsheet and titled it Plan B. Ramen noodles taste different at 3 a.m. when you're studying in the break room of a 24-hour diner. They taste like necessity, like survival. You look dead, Maria, the night cook said as she dropped an extra egg into my cup. 3rd all-nighter this week. Finals. I highlighted another paragraph in my economics textbook, plus morning classes, then afternoon shift here, evening shift at the library, sleep is for the week. Girl, you're going to break yourself. Maybe I already had. 6 months into community college and I was running on caffeine and spite. But my GPA was perfect and every spare dollar went into my transfer fund. Stanford might be out of reach, but I'd found a decent business program at State that would take me after 2 years. My phone buzzed. Mom again. Reuben made Dean's list, having a little celebration dinner tomorrow. Coming home? I typed back. Can't. Sick. Studying for finals. 3 dots appeared then. Always studying. You work too hard, sweetie. Learn to enjoy life like your brother. I turned the phone face down and went back to my textbook. The words blurred together. Hey! A guy in a wrinkled button-down appeared at my table, clutching his own textbook. Mind if I join? Every other seat's taken. I gestured to the empty chair, not looking up. I'm Alejandro, suffering through business law, economics, Lucille. Ah, the dismal science. He pulled out his notes. You're in Professor Williams' class, right? I've seen you there. Always front row, always prepared. Someone has to be. We studied in comfortable silence until my break ended. As I stood to leave, he said, There's a study group meeting at the library tomorrow. You should come. Can't. Working. Both jobs? I paused. You know about that. Like I said, I notice things. The group meets Thursdays too. For some reason I found myself saying, Thursday's work. The study group became my lifeline. Alejandro brought coffee and actually funny jokes. Others brought notes and sympathy. For 3 hours each week, I felt almost normal. Until the holiday photos started arriving. Look where your brother is. Mum's text showed Reuben on a ski slope in Aspen. Perfect smile gleaming. His friend's family invited him for winter break. I was in the walk-in freezer again, but not for crying this time, just for quiet. Lucille. It was Barbara, my regular customer. Honey, are you okay? Fine. I wiped my face. Just inventory. She wasn't buying it. Come sit with me. I'm on break too. At her table, she pushed a piece of pie toward me. Talk. So I did. About the college fund, the car, the endless shifts. About watching my brother's perfect life unfold on social media while I calculated how many hours of work equaled one textbook. You're angry, she said finally. I'm tired. No. Her eyes were kind but firm. You're angry. And you should be. Something in me cracked. They act like I'm some kind of robot, like I don't need help or support or just a damn phone call that isn't about Reuben. Then stop answering their calls. I looked up. What? You're killing yourself trying to prove something to people who aren't even watching. Stop. Focus on you. That night, I missed 3 calls from Mum about Reuben's latest adventure. Instead, I went to the library with Alejandro. You seem different, he said as we studied. Good different. Lighter, he smiled, like you finally put down something heavy. My phone buzzed again. Mom, why aren't you answering? Reuben has big news. I turned off the phone. Very good different, Alejandro said. The semester ended. I aced my finals. No one came to see my grades posted. No celebration dinner. Just me and my 2 jobs and my slowly growing transfer fund. But something had shifted. The anger was still there, but it wasn't eating me alive anymore. It was hardening into something else, something focused. You should come home for Christmas, Mum tried again. Reuben misses you. Can't, I texted back. Picked up extra shifts, saving for next semester. Always about money with you, she replied. Family should come first. I stared at those words for a long time before typing, yes, it should. Then I blocked their numbers. Alejandro found me in the library later. Want to get coffee? You look like you could use a break. Actually, I said, I could use a friend. He smiled. You've already got one. Outside, snow was falling. Somewhere in Aspen, my brother was probably still skiing. But for the first time in months, I didn't care. I had my books, my jobs, my perfect GPA, and now maybe a real friend. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Graduation day at State University. My name echoed across the auditorium. Lucille Newman, summa cum laude. I crossed the stage, accepted my diploma, and searched the crowd. They were there, 3rd row, centre, looking uncomfortable and out of place. Mum fiddling with her phone, Dad checking his watch, Reuben holding up his camera with visible boredom. Smile, sis, he called out, barely looking through the viewfinder. I didn't. After the ceremony, they found me in the crowd. Mum's hug was stiff, performative. We're so proud, she said, eyes already scanning the parking lot. Though you could have picked a shorter ceremony, Reuben's missing an important networking event to be here. Nobody asked him to come. Family supports family, Dad muttered, but wouldn't meet my eyes. Reuben lowered his camera. Got some great shots. I'll post them on my new lifestyle blog. My followers will love the whole supportive brother angle. I stared at him. You're what? My brand. I'm becoming an influencer. You know, luxury lifestyle content? Mum and Dad helped me set up my studio. Of course they did. Speaking of support, Mum cut in, we should discuss your plans. Moving back home would help you save money while you job hunt. I start at Morgan Stanley next month, in Chicago. Silence. Chicago? Dad frowned. That's so far. That's the point. More silence. Well, Reuben said brightly, at least let me post these pics. Family success story and all that. No? Come on, it'll be great content. I said no! I turned to leave, but Mom grabbed my arm. Lucille, don't be difficult. Your brother's trying to build something here. I pulled away. Goodbye, Mom. That's it, Reuben called after me. No celebration dinner? I kept walking. 2 weeks later, I was unpacking in my tiny Chicago studio when my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Lucille Newman? Yes. This is Margaret Walsh from First National Trust. I'm calling about your Aunt Patricia's estate. I sat down. I'm sorry, my what? Your Aunt Patricia. She passed away last month. She left you a small trust fund. There must be a mistake. I don't have an Aunt Patricia. Patricia Newman? Your father's sister? Memory flickered. A Christmas card once, years ago. Dad had thrown it away, muttering about family disappointments. The trust wasn't huge, $40,000, but it was mine. No strings, no guilt, no family drama, just a gift from someone who'd apparently understood what it meant to walk away. I called Alejandro that night. He'd moved to New York after graduation, but we still talked weekly. A secret aunt? He laughed. That's some telenovela stuff right there. Dad never mentioned her. I had to Google her obituary. I paused. She was a financial advisor. Built her own firm from nothing. Sounds familiar. She never married, never had kids. Dad called her selfish. Also sounds familiar? Shut up. But I was smiling. I just wish I'd known her. Maybe she knew you, better than you think. The next day, I opened an investment account. Aunt Patricia's money would grow. I'd make sure of it. Months passed. I threw myself into work, making a name at Morgan Stanley. My boss, Paige, took me under her wing. You've got an edge, she told me during my first review. Something driving you. Just ambitious. No. She studied me. You're building armour. Question is, what are you protecting yourself from? I didn't answer. That night, scrolling through social media, I saw Reuben's latest post. Him posing beside a rented Ferrari, caption reading, living my best life. Blessed under you luxury lifestyle. The comments were gushing, Mum's especially. So proud of my baby boy, following his dreams. I closed the app and opened my investment portfolio instead. The numbers were growing. Steady, quiet growth while Reuben chased likes and Mom chased his shadow. My phone buzzed. A text from an old high school classmate. Hey, weird question. Did you know your brother's trying to start some luxury consulting business? He hit me up for a loan. Seemed desperate. I screenshotted the message. Another buzz. Alejandro. You free this weekend? I'm in Chicago for work. Always free for you. Good. Because I have news about that real estate law project I mentioned. I smiled. Alejandro had been dropping hints about some opportunity, something that would need my financial background. Buy me dinner, I texted back, and I'll listen to your pitch. My phone lit up one more time. Mum. Thinking of you. Reuben's having a brand launch party next month. He'd love to have his successful sister there for photos. I didn't respond. Some bridges aren't worth rebuilding. Besides, I was building something else now, something they'd never see coming. Your brother's empire is crumbling, Alejandro said, sliding his phone across the restaurant table. Check his latest numbers. I scrolled through Reuben's social media analytics. Engagement down 70%. Sponsorships cancelled. Comment sections filled with accusations of fake luxury lifestyle posts. Turns out you can't build a brand on borrowed watches and rented cars forever, I said, handing the phone back. That's not all. Alejandro leaned forward. My firm handled 3 of his rejected loan applications last month. He's underwater on credit cards and that fancy car lease. Defaulted. I sipped my wine, savouring the information like a fine vintage. And our parents? Remortgaged their house 6 months ago, probably to bail him out. Perfect. My phone buzzed. Speaking of the devil, Mom calling. Take it, Alejandro said. Could be interesting, I answered on speaker. Hello? Lucille! Oh, thank goodness. I've been thinking about you so much lately. It's been 2 years, Mom. Has it? Time flies. How's Chicago? Still at that investment place? Morgan Stanley? Yes, I'm a senior analyst now. That's nice. She paused. Actually, I'm calling because your father and I miss you. And Ruben. He talks about you all the time. Alejandro rolled his eyes. Really? I kept my voice neutral. Last I saw, he was busy being an influencer. Oh, well, that's taking a break. The market's so saturated, you know. But he's got amazing new opportunities coming up. He's going into real estate development. I caught Alejandro's eye. Here it comes. Actually, Mum continued, we're having a family dinner next weekend. Would you come? Ruben has something important to discuss. I'm pretty busy. Please, Lucille. Family should stick together during transitions. The desperation in her voice was delicious. Send me the details, I said. I'll check my calendar. After hanging up, Alejandro shook his head. They're setting you up. Obviously. You know what they want. Money. I smiled. Or more specifically, my credit score. Are you going? Of course. I reached for the wine bottle. I've been waiting years for this dinner. The following weekend, I pulled up to my parents' house in my new Mercedes. The contrast with Ruben's conspicuously absent luxury cars was striking. Mum opened the door before I could knock. Lucille, you look expensive. Senior analyst, remember? The house smelled like my childhood. Mum's lasagna, her go-to manipulation meal. Dad hovered awkwardly in the living room. Princess! He moved for a hug, but stopped short. Nice car out there. Thanks. Paid cash? Their expressions were priceless. Ruben bounded down the stairs, designer clothes somehow looking cheaper than before. Sis, you made it. Wouldn't miss it. Over dinner, the performance began. Mum reminiscing about childhood memories. Dad praising my business sense. Ruben telling sanitised versions of his influencer downfall. But that's all behind me now, he announced. I found my true calling. Luxury real estate development. Really? I cut my lasagna. Interesting market for that. That's what I wanted to discuss. He leaned forward. I found this amazing property. Waterfront, modern design, incredible potential. The perfect starter mansion for my new brand. Mum beamed. Dad studied his plate. Sounds expensive, I said. Well, yes. Ruben laughed nervously. But with the right investment partners... He means family partners, Mum interjected. Supporting each other's dreams. I set down my fork. How much? The house is listed at 2.8 million, Ruben said quickly. But I only need a co-signer. The bank loves my business plan. They just want extra security. Because of your credit score? Silence fell. Lucille, Mum warned. No, it's okay, Ruben said. I've had some setbacks, but this is different. This is real investment, not social media stuff. I've learned my lesson. Have you? People make mistakes, Dad finally spoke. Family helps family recover. I looked around the table. Mum's pleading eyes, Dad's discomfort, Ruben's practiced sincerity. 3 people who'd never helped me recover from their mistakes. Send me the paperwork, I said. I'll review it. Really? Ruben's face lit up. Really? Alejandro's text read later that night. Trust me, I replied. Everything's going according to plan. My phone buzzed again. Mum. Thank you for considering this. You've always been the strong one. I thought of Aunt Patricia's trust fund, quietly multiplied through careful investment, of the connections I'd built at Morgan Stanley, of the legal groundwork Alejandro had laid. Yes, I texted back. I am. Strong enough to wait for the perfect moment, strong enough to make it hurt. This is it! Ruben spread his arms wide, spinning in the empty great room of the waterfront mansion. My future empire starts here. The real estate agent, Tracy, hovered nearby with a practised smile. The views are spectacular, and the private dock can accommodate up to a 50-foot yacht. Mum touched the marble countertops reverently. It's perfect for your brand relaunch, honey. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows, studying the water below. What's the asking price again? 2.8 million, Tracy said. But there's already been significant interest from qualified buyers. I turned, eyebrow raised. Tracy's smile flickered. Lucille, Mom hissed. Don't be rude. Just doing due diligence. I pulled out my phone. Mind if my attorney reviews the paperwork? Attorney? Ruben's confidence wavered. It's a standard mortgage, sis. Alejandro specialises in real estate law. He's on standby. Mum intervened smoothly. Let's discuss details over lunch. I packed your favourite. Remember those picnics we used to have? German apple cake? I asked innocently. She flushed. Well, no, but... Tracy, I cut in. Could you walk me through the property taxes and HOA fees? The numbers were exactly what I expected. Astronomical. Reuben's eyes glazed over as Tracy detailed the costs, but I caught every figure, every trap. Perhaps we should discuss financing, Tracy suggested diplomatically. Reuben brightened. My sister's a financial genius. Senior analyst at Morgan Stanley. Really? Tracy's interest sharpened. And you'll be co-signing? We're reviewing options, I said. My phone buzzed. Alejandro. Got the preliminary paperwork. This is worse than we thought. Call me. Excuse me, I stepped onto the balcony. Work call. It's a disaster, Alejandro said when I answered. The down payment alone would drain him. Monthly payments are triple his documented income. Perfect. Lucille? Are you sure about this? I watched through the window as Reuben gestured excitedly, probably planning where his YouTube studio would go. Absolutely sure. Back inside, Mum was already planning the housewarming party. Dad had finally arrived, looking uncomfortable as usual. There you are. Reuben grabbed my arm. Come see the master suite. It's influencer heaven. The bedroom was bigger than my first apartment. Reuben bounced on the massive bed while Tracy detailed the custom closets. Just imagine the content I could create here, he gushed. My followers will go crazy. All 12,000 of them, I muttered. What? Nothing, I smiled. When do you need an answer about co-signing? Tracy stepped forward. The sellers want to move quickly. Perhaps we could... Let's discuss it over dinner, Mum interrupted. I made reservations at that lovely Italian place. At the restaurant, the performance reached its peak. Mum ordered expensive wine. Dad actually participated in conversation. Reuben was on his best behaviour. Remember when Lucille used to help me with math? He said, laying it on thick. She always knew how to explain things. You were a terrible student, I replied. But you never gave up on me. He raised his glass. To family. Mum wiped away a tear. Dad cleared his throat. My phone buzzed again. Alejandro. Modified contract ready. Just say when. Speaking of family, Mum set down her wine. We should discuss the practical details. Yes, I said. Let's. The bank needs some reassurance, Reuben began. Just a signature, really. You won't be responsible for anything. Except if you default. Silence. Which won't happen, Mum jumped in. Your brother has learned so much from his experiences. Has he? I turned to Reuben. Tell me about your business plan. Well, luxury real estate content is huge right now. I'll do house tours, lifestyle videos, maybe some coaching. With what audience? I'm rebuilding. This house is the foundation. Of more debt? Lucille, Dad warned. I pulled out my phone. Let me show you something. I opened his credit report, legally obtained through my banking connections. Want to explain these numbers? Reuben paled. Mum reached for more wine. I can explain. You don't have to, I said calmly, because I'm going to help you. Hope bloomed on their faces. Really? Reuben's eyes watered. Sis, I knew you'd understand. I'll co-sign. Mum actually clapped. But, I continued, I have conditions. My lawyer will draw up the paperwork. Lawyer? Dad frowned. It's just a mortgage. I smiled. Nothing is ever just anything. My phone buzzed one final time. Alejandro. Contract ready. Are you sure you want to do this? I looked at my family's eager faces and typed back. They taught me well. Always get everything in writing. The trap was set. Now to watch them walk right into it. The bank's conference room felt like a theatre stage. Nancy, the loan officer, arranged documents with practiced precision while Reuben bounced in his chair like a kid at Christmas. Just a few signatures, Nancy said, and we can proceed with the mortgage. Mum squeezed Reuben's shoulder. This is such a special moment. Very special, I agreed, setting my briefcase on the table. Nancy, I have some additional paperwork to include. Additional? Mum's smile faltered. Just a side agreement between siblings. I pulled out Alejandro's contract. Standard protection clauses. Nancy adjusted her glasses. The bank's documentation is comprehensive. This is separate. A private contract between my brother and me. Reuben barely glanced at it. Whatever you need, sis. Where do I sign? Perhaps we should review it first, Dad suggested. It's simple. I slid the contract across the table. I'm co-signing with specific conditions. If Reuben misses any payments, the house and all associated assets transfer directly to me. The room went silent. That's... Mum started. Standard practice, I finished. Ask Nancy. Nancy nodded reluctantly. Co-signers often include protection clauses. But family is different, Mum protested. Exactly why we need everything in writing. I turned to Reuben. Unless you're planning to default? Of course not. He laughed nervously. This is my dream. I'll never miss a payment. Then there's no problem. Dad picked up the contract. No grace periods, no payment plans. He deserves a boost, I quoted, watching Mom flinch. Isn't that what we believe in? Reuben grabbed a pen. It doesn't matter. I've got this all figured out. My new business plan. Sign or don't, I interrupted. But I won't co-sign without this agreement. Nancy cleared her throat. We should proceed if we want to close today. Mum tried one last time. Lucille, surely we can discuss. No discussion needed. Reuben scrawled his signature. See? Done. Now you sign, sis. I signed slowly, savouring each letter. Nancy notarised both contracts. Congratulations, she said. You're now officially co-owners of 47 Lakefront Drive. Reuben whooped and hugged me. This is going to be amazing. Wait till you see what I do with the place. I patted his back stiffly. I'm sure I will. Outside the bank, Mum pulled me aside. That contract was cruel. Cruel would be enabling him without consequences. We're family. Yes, I cut her off. We are. And family deserves honesty, right? So honestly, Mum, he'll default within 6 months. You don't know that. His credit report says otherwise. His failed business says otherwise. But don't worry. I'll take good care of the house when it's mine. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. You planned this. Did I? Or did you teach me how family helps family? Dad appeared behind her. The realtor's waiting, Catherine. I watched them hurry to their car. Mum already on the phone, probably planning the housewarming party. Reuben was taking selfies by the bank's sign. My phone buzzed. Alejandro. Done? Signed and notarised. You know he'll never keep up those payments. That's the point. What happens when they figure it out? I watched Reuben pose for another photo. They won't. Not until it's too late. That night, I received dozens of messages. Photos of Reuben with his new house keys. Mum's lengthy thank you text about family bonds. Dad's awkward attempt at an emoji. I ignored them all and opened my investment portfolio instead. The numbers were solid. More than enough to cover the mortgage when, not if, Reuben defaulted. Paige, my boss, had questioned my strategy over lunch last week. You're risking a lot on revenge, she'd said. Not revenge, I corrected. Investment. Now watching Reuben's first house tour video go live, incredible mansion tour, my new life begins. I felt nothing but calm certainty. The video showed him bouncing through empty rooms, making grand plans. And here's where the streaming setup will go. Once the brand deals start rolling in, comments were already appearing. How can you afford this? Didn't your last business fail? Is this another fake flex? I closed the app and texted Nancy. Keep me updated on the payment schedule. Will do, she replied. Though between us, I give it 4 months max. I smiled and opened my calendar, counting the days until the first mortgage payment was due. Reuben had no idea he'd just signed away his future. But then again, he'd never understood the true cost of things. That was about to change. The first payment bounced exactly 47 days after closing. Just a bank error! Reuben's voice crackled through my phone. I'll fix it tomorrow. The second payment never came. By day 90, Nancy's updates became daily. Final notice sent. No response to calls. Foreclosure proceedings beginning. On day 103, Mum called. He's trying his best, she pleaded. The brand deals fell through, but he has leads. The contract was clear. He just needs more time. Your father and I could help, but after remortgaging our house for his last venture. Not my problem. He's your brother. Was he my brother when you spent my college fund on his car? Silence. Then quietly. You've been waiting for this, haven't you? 4 years, 2 months and 17 days, but who's counting? The foreclosure notice arrived on a Tuesday. I had it framed. Ruben's social media went dark after his tearful emergency truth about my mansion video flopped. The comments were brutal. Called it another fake influencer. Must be nice having rich parents to bail you out. Karma's real, bro. On day 120, I pulled into the mansion's circular driveway. Ruben's latest borrowed luxury car was gone, replaced by our parents' aging sedan. Mum opened the door before I knocked. Her eyes were red. Here to gloat? Here to collect? Dad appeared behind her. The lawyers say we might have grounds to contest. No, I cut him off. You don't. But please, waste more money trying. The house was a mess. Half-finished influencer rooms with ring lights and backdrop walls, empty energy drink cans, unpaid bills scattered across imported marble counters. Where's Ruben? Upstairs, Mum whispered. Packing. I climbed the sweeping staircase, each step echoing with satisfaction. Found him in the master suite, surrounded by designer clothes with tags still attached. Come to kick me out personally? The sheriff will handle that next week. He looked up, eyes wet. I really thought I could do it this time. No, you didn't. You thought someone would save you, like always. Mum and Dad are broke because of you. I'll pay everyone back. I've got new opportunities. Stop! I held up my hand. Just stop, he deflated. What happens now? Now? I smiled. Now you leave. The house is mine. You planned this. Yes. Why? I walked to the window, my window now. Remember that red Mustang? What? That was years ago. That was my future you drove away in? This? I gestured around the room. This is karma. It was just a car. No. I turned back to him. It was a choice. Mum and Dad chose you over and over, and now I'm choosing me. The doorbell rang. That's my attorney, I said. Time to sign the transfer papers. I could fight this. With what money? Downstairs, Alejandro had spread documents across the kitchen island. Mum was crying softly. Dad stared at his shoes. Sign here, Alejandro pointed. And here. Initial here. Ruben's hand shook. What about my stuff? You have 48 hours to remove personal items, Alejandro replied. Anything left becomes Ms. Newman's property. Mum stepped forward. Lucille, please. Don't! My voice could have frozen fire. Don't you dare ask for mercy now. We're your family. No. You're the people who taught me that family means nothing without leverage. Ruben signed the last page. Alejandro notarized it. It's done, he announced. I picked up the papers. You can all leave now. Where am I supposed to go? Ruben asked. There's always the guest room at Mom and Dad's. Oh, wait. I pretended to remember. They remortgaged the house for your last failure, didn't they? Mum grabbed her purse. You've become cruel. I've become successful. Isn't that what you wanted? They filed out slowly. Ruben last, carrying one designer duffel bag. Sis! He tried one more time. I'm sorry about the car. About everything. No, you're not. You're sorry you finally lost. The door closed behind them. Alejandro touched my shoulder. You okay? I looked around my new house, all 6,000 square feet of revenge served cold. I've never been better. Through the window, I watched them pile into Dad's car. No more borrowed luxury vehicles, no more fake lifestyle posts. Just reality, finally catching up. Mum looked back once. I raised my hand in a small wave. Then I pulled out my phone and texted Nancy. Transfer complete. List it for sale tomorrow. Already have interested buyers, she replied. At a significant profit. Perfect. Because this was never about the house. It was about watching them walk away with nothing. Just like I had, that day in the Denny's parking lot. My morning coffee was interrupted by Paige dropping a file on my desk. Interesting application came across my desk, she said. Thought you should see it. I opened the folder and froze. There, under previous experience, was my brother's name. He applied for the junior analyst position, Paige continued. Said he has a sister in finance who could vouch for him. I closed the file. No. That's what I thought. She perched on my desk. But there's more. Your mother left 3 messages with HR about setting up an interview. Of course she did. My phone buzzed. Mom, please just talk to the hiring manager. He's changed. He needs this. I deleted the message and turned to Paige. Handle it however you want. Already did. But that's not why I'm here. She studied me carefully. The board approved your promotion to managing director. What? Youngest in the firm's history. You've earned it. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt empty. That evening I met Alejandro at our usual bar. Managing director. He raised his glass. Congratulations. Thanks. I stared at my untouched drink. Ruben applied for a job at my firm. Bold move. Desperate move. He's been couch surfing since the house sold. And your parents? Downsized to a condo. Dad took a second job. Alejandro leaned forward. You got what you wanted. Why don't you seem happy? Because... I struggled with the words. Because winning feels different than I thought it would. Different how? Empty. I finally took a sip. Like I spent years building this perfect revenge, and now you have to live with it. Yeah. He pulled out his phone. Speaking of living with things, remember that real estate project I mentioned? The community development thing? We're breaking ground next month. Affordable housing for students. Full scholarship program included. I raised an eyebrow. And we need a financial partner who understands the value of education. The irony wasn't lost on me. Using my revenge money to fund scholarships? I laughed. That's a bit on the nose. Better than letting it eat you alive. My phone buzzed again. A text from Dad. I know we don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm proud of what you've become, even if it was in spite of us. Then another. Your Aunt Patricia would be proud too. I showed Alejandro the messages. Well, he asked. Well, what? Are you going to let them keep living in your head rent-free, or are you going to build something better? I thought about my new office, the promotion, the empty victory. Show me the project proposal, I said. He smiled and pulled out his laptop. It's a partnership with State University, 20 units, full ride for students who maintain a 3.5 GPA. As he talked, another text arrived. Ruben. Congratulations on managing director. You deserved it. All of it. I'm sorry I never saw that before. I started typing a response, then stopped. What's wrong? Alejandro asked. Just realizing something. I put my phone away. Revenge feels good for a moment. Building something feels good forever. So show me where to sign. The scholarship program launched 3 months later. No fancy ceremony, no social media posts, no family drama, just quiet impact. My phone still buzzes with family messages. Mum still tries to fix things. Ruben still looks for shortcuts. Dad still sends awkward emojis. But now? Their messages land differently, because while they're stuck in the same old patterns, I'm building something new. Something that turns old wounds into future opportunities. Paige caught me reviewing scholarship applications late one night. This is different than revenge, she noted. Better different, I replied, thinking of Alejandro's words from years ago. You know, she said carefully, healing doesn't mean you have to let them back in. I know. I picked up another application. But it does mean I get to choose what to build next. My phone buzzed. Another text from Ruben. Got a job, a real one. Starting at the bottom this time. For the first time in years, I wrote back, good. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't family reunion time. It was just letting go. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building something so good, so solid, that the past becomes nothing but a foundation for something better. I signed the last scholarship approval and looked out my office window at the city lights. Somewhere out there, my brother was starting over. Somewhere out there, my parents were learning hard lessons. And here I was, finally building something that wasn't about them at all. It was about what came next. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough.
I found out my dream was stolen while eating a microwave burrito in my car. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I always park under the dead oak tree behind the clinic on Tuesdays, less foot traffic. I had just clocked out of a 12-hour shift. My feet were screaming and I was trying to psych myself up to check the IVF fund one more time, just to see it, to remind myself it was real. That after 3 years of ramen dinners, skipped vacations, and selling half my closet on Poshmark, I had finally hit 20,137.52. I opened the app, entered my password, waited. Balance, 74.19. I blinked, hit refresh, still 74.19. My heart didn't drop, it detonated. I stared at the screen like it was a joke, like maybe the app was glitching. But deep down, I knew. I knew in the same way you know when someone's lying to your face. Cold, immediate, undeniable. My name is Rosalie, and 3 years of my life vanished in a single loading screen. I called the bank, got transferred 3 times. Finally, a woman named Linda told me there had been 2 large withdrawals, $10,000 and $9,800, both authorized by someone listed as a co-owner, my mother. I didn't even know she was on the account. I drove straight to their house. Didn't call, didn't think. I was halfway up the front steps before I realized I'd left my burrito on the dashboard, uneaten. The door opened before I knocked. Rosalie, Mom said, like I'd shown up to borrow sugar. She wore a silk robe and had a glass of wine in hand. It was 4 in the afternoon. "Where's Dad?" I asked. "In the den," she said. "What's wrong?" I pushed past her. "You know what's wrong." Dad was on the couch watching golf. He muted the TV when he saw me. "I want to know why $20,000 is missing from my IVF fund," I said. My voice was steady, too steady, the kind of calm that comes before a storm. He looked at Mom. She took a sip of wine, then sighed like I was being difficult. "We meant to talk to you," she said. "Then talk." "It was for Kaya's wedding," she said, like that explained everything. She needed help with the venue deposit and flights and the dress. I laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. "So you stole it." "We didn't steal anything," Dad said quickly. "We're listed on the account. It's technically a family." "It's my money," I snapped. "I worked for it. I saved every cent. That account was for IVF. You knew that." "You're being dramatic," Mom said. "Kaya's wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event. You'll have another chance." I stared at her. "You think I can just restart fertility treatments like a Netflix show?" She didn't answer. "Do you know what I put my body through?" I said louder now. "The hormones, the failed cycles, the surgeries, and you, God, you took it for a fiction wedding?" "It wasn't just a wedding," she said. "It's family. You should be happy for your sister." I turned to Dad. "You knew?" He looked down. "We thought we'd pay it back eventually." "When?" I asked. "After the honeymoon? After the baby shower? Oh, wait, that's me. I'm the one who can't have kids." "Don't make this about you," Mom said sharply. I stared at her. It was my money. "You're always so jealous of Kaya," she said. "It's exhausting." That hit harder than anything else. Not the money, not the betrayal. That sentence. I walked out, didn't slam the door, didn't say goodbye, just walked. I sat in my car for a long time. The burrito was cold. I threw it out the window. An hour later, my phone buzzed, a voicemail from Dad. "Rosie, please don't tell anyone. It would ruin everything. Kaya's wedding, it's important. Just let it go. We'll make it right eventually. Please." Eventually. I played it twice. Then I opened my notes app and wrote 3 words. They chose her. And I promised myself that would be the last time they ever did. I didn't cry, not once. Not when I played the voicemail again, not when I checked the bank records 5 more times, not even when I called the clinic and canceled my IVF cycle. I got to work. First, I pulled up every email confirmation from the bank, the ones I'd ignored because I trusted the account was safe. Buried in the fine print, authorized withdrawal of $10,000 initiated by secondary account holder. Then another, $9,800. The dates matched the same week Kaya had posted a photo of a beachfront villa with the caption, "Dreams do come true." Serukaya and Dill forever. I took screenshots, saved them to a folder I titled Truth. Next, I logged into my cloud drive and uploaded copies of the bank statements, the voicemail, and every monthly deposit I'd made into that account. 3 years of sacrifice in black and white, my name on every line. I stared at the screen, then I texted Zella. Me. You busy? Zella. Always. What's up? Me. I need to tell you something. It's bad. Zella. Wine or whiskey? Me. Both. She showed up 20 minutes later with a bottle in each hand and a face that said she was ready to commit a felony on my behalf. I told her everything. When I finished, she was quiet for a second. Then she said, "That's not just betrayal, that's theft." "Technically, they're on the account," I said. "Technically, my boss is on the office Keurig, but if he drinks my last pod, I'll still key his car." I laughed. First time in days. "You're not crazy," she said. "You're not jealous. You're not overreacting. This is war." I nodded. Then I need ammo. That weekend, I went to the family brunch. It was at some overpriced bistro downtown. Kaya had rented out the private room and decorated it like a Pinterest board exploded. Rose gold everything, custom name cards, a neon sign that said Bride Vibes. I walked in like nothing was wrong. Mom air kissed me. "Rosalie, you look tired. Are you eating enough?" "Plenty," I said, smiling tightly. Kaya floated over in a white romper and heels that probably cost more than my rent. "So glad you came. We were just talking about the bachelorette trip. We're thinking Bora Bora." "Sounds expensive," I said. She laughed like I'd told a joke. "Luckily, I got the best parents in the world." I glanced at Mom. Her smile twitched. The waiter brought mimosas. Kaya stood up, clinking her glass. "I just want to take a moment to thank Mom and Dad," she said, eyes shining, "for making this wedding everything I ever dreamed of. I'm so lucky to have you." Everyone clapped. I didn't. Dad looked at me, briefly, then away. After brunch, while everyone was taking selfies in front of the neon sign, I slipped away, found the den, the office, the place I used to do homework while Kaya had dance recitals and cheer tryouts. Dad's desk was unlocked. He never changed. I opened the bottom drawer and found it, a leather-bound ledger. He still kept paper records, old school. I flipped through until I found it. 2011, Rosalie's College Fund, $12,000 transfer to Kaya, student loan, payoff. I stared at the page, then snapped a photo. 12 years ago. I dropped out after one semester, thinking I couldn't afford it. They told me the fund had been used for house repairs. I walked out of that house with a smile on my face and fire in my chest. Later that night, Zella and I sat on my couch, wine glasses in hand, laptop open. "You've got receipts," she said, "literal receipts." "Yeah, now what?" I scrolled through the folder. "Now I stopped playing nice." She raised her glass. "To revenge." I clinked mine against hers. "To truth." My phone buzzed. A text from Kaya. "Hey, can you Venmo me $80 for the brunch? Forgot to split the bill." I stared at it. Then I sent back one word. No. The reconciliation lunch was held at my parents' house, which already told me everything I needed to know. I showed up anyway. Mom opened the door like she was hosting a garden party. "Rosalie," she said, all syrup and smiles, "we're so glad you came." Dad stood awkwardly in the foyer, hands tucked into his pockets. Kaya was perched at the dining table like a smug little bird, sipping iced tea with a straw and scrolling through her phone. "Let's sit," Mom said, gesturing toward the table like a maitre d'. I sat at the far end. No one offered me a drink. "So, Kaya said, tucking her phone away. We just wanted to clear the air. There's been tension. You stole from me, I said flatly. Dad winced. Mom gave a tight smile. Rosalie, let's not use inflammatory language. What should I call it then? A donation I didn't know I made? Kaya rolled her eyes. God, you're still on this? Yes, I snapped. Because it was my IVF fund, my future, and you used it to pay for a fucking flower wall. It was more than that, Mom said. It was a family decision. No, I said. It was your decision, and you made it without me. Dad cleared his throat. We're here to apologize. Go ahead. He looked at Mom. She gave him a nod like she was feeding him his lines. We're sorry, he said. We didn't mean to hurt you. That's it? I asked. Kaya leaned forward. Look, I get that you're upset, but this wedding is a huge deal. It's not just about me. It's about our whole family. You could have been part of it, but instead you're making it all about you. I stared at her. You're welcome. She blinked. What? For your dream wedding. You're welcome. Oh my God, she said, laughing. You're so bitter. You've always been bitter. Enough, Mom said sharply. This isn't helping. I turned to her. You knew I was saving for IVF. You knew how hard I worked, and you didn't even ask. We didn't think you'd go through with it, she said. You're not even dating anyone. I don't need a man to want a child. She tilted her head. You're not a mother. You wouldn't understand doing everything for your children. The silence after that was loud. I stood up. You know what? You're right. I'm not a mother, but apparently neither are you. Dad stood too. Rosie, please. I pulled my phone from my pocket and tapped the screen. I recorded this, by the way. Mom's smile cracked. What? This whole conversation, just in case I need to remind myself how little I matter to this family. Kaya scoffed. You're so dramatic. I walked to the door, and you're so predictable. As I opened it, Mom called after me. What are you going to do with that recording? I turned back. Whatever I want. That night, I uploaded the audio file to the truth folder. Then I called an old college friend, Leah, who worked at a small law firm downtown. I need some advice, I said. We met the next day in her office. I laid it all out, every document, every transfer, every receipt. She flipped through the pages, eyebrows raised. They were listed as co-owners? Yeah, I didn't even know. She nodded. It complicates things, but not fatally. If you can prove they used the funds for something outside the agreed purpose, especially without your consent, you might have a civil case. Like what? Small claims? Possibly, or misappropriation of funds. Depends on how far you want to take it. I leaned back. I don't want money. I want the truth out. She tapped the folder. You got a case, but more than that, you've got evidence. That's power. I left her office and sat in my car staring at the dashboard. Then I opened my phone and renamed the folder, Operation Truth. Later that week, Kaya posted a photo of her wedding dress. Caption, she said yes to the dress. Thanks to my amazing parents for making dreams come true. I screenshotted it, added it to the folder. Then I opened my voice memo app and hit record. This is Rosalie, and this is the story of how my family stole my future to pay for a wedding. Let's begin. I hadn't seen Jonah in 6 years. He messaged me out of nowhere after I posted a photo of the ocean with no caption. It wasn't subtle. I'd driven to the coast after work just to breathe something that didn't smell like antiseptic or betrayal. I guess he still followed me. Jonah. That view looks familiar. Me. Still your favorite spot. Jonah. You still drink your coffee black and your revenge ice cold? I laughed. First real one in days. We met up at a dive bar on the edge of town. The kind with sticky tables, cheap beer, and a jukebox that only played blues or heartbreak. He looked the same, a little older, more beard, same crooked smile. "Rosie," he said, pulling me into a hug, "you look like you're about to burn down a village." "Maybe just a wedding," I said. We sat in a booth in the corner away from the noise. I told him everything, the savings, the theft, the brunch, the recording. He didn't interrupt, just listened, eyes locked on mine. When I finished, he leaned back. "Damn." "Yeah." "They always favored Kaya, huh?" I nodded. "Since birth?" "I remember that time in high school," he said. "You got into that writing camp in Chicago, and your mom said it was too far. But 2 weeks later, Kaya got flown to L.A. for a modeling audition." I blinked. "You remember that?" "Of course I do. You cried in my car for an hour." I looked down at my drink. "I used to think if I just worked hard enough, they'd notice me, like really see me." He was quiet for a second. "They don't deserve you." I shook my head. "It's not about that anymore. It's about what they took." He leaned in. "Just promise me something." "What?" "When you burn their world down, make sure you're ready to walk through the ashes." I didn't answer. The next day, I visited my old childhood bedroom. It still smelled like lemon cleaner and disappointment. I was digging through boxes when I heard a knock. I opened the door to find Hannah, my cousin from Mom's side. We hadn't talked in years. "Hey," she said, glancing around like she'd been followed. "Can we talk?" We sat on the porch steps. "I saw your post," she said, "the one with the waves." I raised an eyebrow. "That's what brought you here?" She hesitated. "No, I've been meaning to reach out. There's something you need to know." I waited. "Your mom took out a second mortgage years ago, in your name." I blinked. "What?" "She used your info, said it was for family renovations. My dad helped her with the paperwork. He felt guilty for years." I felt the air leave my lungs. "How much?" "About 20 grand. Paid off last year. Guess how?" My stomach turned. "The IVF fund." She nodded. "That's fraud," I said. "I know." I stared at the street. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I've watched them do this to you your whole life, and I'm done pretending it's normal." I swallowed hard. "Thank you." She stood. "Also, Dylan?" "What about him?" "He's not who he says he is." I narrowed my eyes. "Explain." "I used to work at a PR firm in Austin. We had a client, Whitney Henry. She was engaged to a guy named Dylan. Same last name, same face. The wedding got called off, quietly. But there were rumors." "What kind of rumors?" "Domestic stuff, money stuff. She moved states to get away from him." My pulse kicked up. "Do you have her info?" She pulled out a card. "She's willing to talk. She said if you called, she'd pick up." I took the card. "Why are you really helping me?" Hannah looked at me, eyes sharp. "Because if you don't stop them, they'll keep doing it. And one day it'll be someone who can't recover." She walked away without another word. That night I called Whitney. She answered on the second ring. "Hello?" "Hi, my name's Rosalie. I think we have a Dylan in common." Silence. Then, "I was wondering when someone would call." We talked for an hour. She told me about the gaslighting, the control, the way he used money to isolate her. Then she sent me an audio file, him screaming at her over a credit card charge. It made my skin crawl. "Would you be willing to share this?" I asked. "Under one condition," she said. "I want to be there when it happens." "When what happens?" "When you destroy him." I smiled. "You free next weekend?" She laughed. "I'll buy a dress." I added her file to the truth folder. Then I opened a blank document and typed, "Wedding toast draft." "Thank you all for coming. Let's talk about what love really looks like. The cafe was quiet, the kind of place with chipped mugs and faded menus. Hannah sat across from me, stirring her coffee like she was trying to dissolve a secret. I pulled the deed records, she said, sliding a folder across the table. It's all there. The second mortgage was filed under your name. Signature's forged, but it passed because your mom had access to your social. I opened the folder. My name, my fake signature, my future sold off like a pawn ticket. She used it to pay off the first loan, Hannah continued, the one she took out when Kaya dropped out of grad school. I looked up. Wait, what loan? She said it was for emergency expenses. My dad co-signed, but the money went straight to Kaya's tuition and apartment. I closed the folder. So I've been funding her life since she was 20. Hannah nodded, and she has no idea. I leaned back in the booth, heart pounding. This wedding isn't just a wedding, it's a cover-up. Exactly. I pulled out my phone and added the deed photos to the truth folder. Then I texted Zella. Me. We need to meet tonight. Bring your laptop. Zella showed up with her laptop, a bottle of wine, and a look that said she was ready to commit a felony. I laid everything out. The mortgage, the tuition, the forged signature. She whistled. Your mom's got bigger balls than I thought. She's been playing puppet master for years, I said. Kaya's just the doll. Zella started typing. We need visuals, a timeline, receipts, bank statements, photos. If we're going to do this, it needs to be cleaned. We're doing it at the wedding. She looked up. You're serious? I'm giving a toast. She grinned. God, I love you. We worked until 2 a.m., building a slideshow. First slide, a photo of me and Kaya as kids. She's in a princess dress. I'm in hand-me-downs. Then the bank transfers, the forged mortgage, the voicemail from Dad, and finally the audio clip from Whitney. The last slide was simple. This is what love really looks like. The next day, I met Whitney at a diner off the highway. She wore sunglasses and a leather jacket like she expected paparazzi. I'm not doing this for you, she said, stirring her tea. I'm doing it because no one warned me. I get it. She slid me a USB. That's everything. Emails, texts, the audio. Use whatever you want. You sure? She nodded. He doesn't get to keep doing this. I hesitated. What happened after you left him? I started over, different city, changed my number, but I still check his name every few months just in case. I swallowed. You're brave. She laughed. No, I'm just tired. I reached into my bag and pulled out an invitation. You're my +1. She raised an eyebrow. You're bringing me to the wedding? Front row. She smiled. Then I'll wear red. That night, Jonah came over. He watched the slideshow without saying a word. When it ended, he looked at me. This is going to blow up everything. I know. He leaned forward. And what happens after? I don't know. He nodded slowly. You're not doing this for revenge anymore, are you? No, I said. I'm doing it so the next time they lie, they choke on it. He stood up, walked over, and pulled me into a hug. You're not alone, he said into my hair. I held on to him a little longer than I meant to. The wedding was 3 days away. I scheduled the slideshow to auto-upload to a public link 2 hours after the toast. I backed it up on 3 drives. One went to Zella, one to Jonah, one to a safety deposit box. I printed out a transcript of my toast and folded it into my clutch. Then I looked in the mirror and said out loud, they don't get to write the ending. My phone buzzed, a message from Kaya. Can't wait to see you this weekend, sis. So glad we're all good now. I stared at it. Then I smiled, cheered me. Wouldn't miss it for the world. The wedding venue looked like something out of a luxury magazine. White roses, gold chairs, glass chandeliers dangling from a tent that probably cost more than my car. Servers floated around with trays of champagne, and every guest had a custom monogram fan because the bride doesn't sweat, she glows. I walked in with Whitney by my side, both of us in black. "You sure about this?" she asked, adjusting her sunglasses. "Too late to back out now," I said, scanning the crowd. "Besides, you look like vengeance." She smirked. "You look like karma." Zella met us near the bar wearing a navy jumpsuit and a grin that could slice glass. "Everything's uploaded," she said, handing me a flash drive. "Fail-safe's in place. Dropbox link goes live at 6:45. That gives you enough time to toast, mic drop, and exit before the fireworks." Literal fireworks? Apparently, Kaya's finale is a drone light show spelling out "Forever Starts Now." I blinked. God help us. Jonah arrived 10 minutes later, suit pressed, hair slicked back. He handed me a small envelope. "What's this?" "Letter from your lawyer friend," he said, "just in case they try to spin this as slander." I tucked it into my clutch. "Thanks for coming." He looked at me. "Wouldn't miss it for the world." I took a deep breath and stepped into the sea of pastel dresses and fake smiles. Mom spotted me first. "Rosalie," she said, gliding over in a champagne-colored gown. "You came." I said I would. She touched my arm like everything was fine. "I'm so glad you've let things go. Family's too important to hold grudges." I smiled. "You're right. Family is everything." Her eyes narrowed just a touch, like she sensed something off. Then Kaya appeared, practically floating in her lace gown. "Rosie," she squealed, hugging me like we were best friends. "You look amazing." "So do you," I said. "This is a lot." "Go big or go home, right?" She laughed. "I'm just so happy you're here. I told Mom you'd come around." I looked her straight in the eye. "Wouldn't miss it." The ceremony started late, of course. Kaya made her entrance to a string quartet version of Beyoncé's Halo. Dylan stood at the altar in a white tux, grinning like he owned the world. They exchanged vows that sounded like Instagram captions, kissed dramatically, and walked back down the aisle to applause and bubbles. Then came the reception. I ate nothing, drank water, smiled at people I didn't recognize, waited. At 6:30, the DJ tapped the mic. "All right, everyone, time for a few words from our lovely maid of honor, Rosalie." I stood slowly, heart pounding, and walked to the stage. Mom clapped. Dad looked relieved. Kaya beamed, hand in Dylan's. I took the mic. "Hi, everyone," I said, voice steady. "For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rosalie, Kaya's older sister." Polite applause. I wasn't always sure I'd be standing up here. We've had our ups and downs like any family. But today I want to talk about love. I paused, looked around the room. Love is sacrifice. It's choosing someone else's happiness even when it costs you. It's honesty, loyalty, protecting the people you care about. I glanced at Kaya, and sometimes love is letting go. I reached into my clutch and pulled out a small remote. Before I go on, I'd like to share something. The screen behind me lit up. Slide 1, a photo of me and Kaya as kids. Slide 2, a screenshot of the bank account, 2,130 Slide 3, the withdrawals, the dates, the names. A ripple went through the room. Slide 4, the voicemail from Dad. His voice played over the speakers. "Rosie, please don't tell anyone. It would ruin everything." Gasps, murmurs. Slide 5, the forged mortgage document. Slide 6, Dylan's audio, his voice angry, cruel. "You think I need you? I made you. I'll ruin you if you leave." Whitney stood up slowly, removing her sunglasses. Kaya's face drained of color. Dylan stood, fists clenched. Mom bolted from her seat. Turn it off! I looked at her. Why? You always said I was too quiet. The final slide appeared. This is what love really looks like. The room was silent, then chaos. Dylan stormed out, shouting at someone on the phone. Kaya burst into tears. Mom lunged toward the stage, but Jonah stepped in front of her. Don't, he said calmly. Cameras flashed, guests whispered. Someone live-streamed it. Dad sat frozen, hands in his lap. I stepped down from the stage. Mom grabbed my arm. You'll regret this. I looked her dead in the eyes. Not as much as you made me regret being your daughter. I walked past Kaya, who was sobbing into her bouquet. Congrats, I said. You finally got the attention you always wanted. Then I walked out into the night, the sound of drone motors buzzing behind me, spelling out a lie in the sky. People say silence is peaceful. They've never walked through the kind that follows a bomb. I stood just outside the tent, the night air thick with tension. Inside, the wedding had collapsed into chaos. The string quartet had stopped playing. The caterers looked like they wanted to disappear. Guests whispered in tight little circles, eyes darting toward Kaya, who sat crumpled in a chair, mascara streaking down her face. Zella joined me outside, phone in hand. The link's live, already getting shared. How bad is it? She turned the screen toward me. Comments were pouring in under the video. This is insane. I'd sue my parents into the ground. That sister is a legend. Kaya's a whole villain. I took a breath. It's done. Not yet, she said. Look. We turned. Mom was storming toward me, heels digging into the grass like she was about to bury someone. You smug little, she hissed. Jonah stepped between us again, calm as ever. Don't. She glared at him, then back at me. You've ruined everything. No, I said. I revealed it. You humiliated your sister on the most important day of her life. She humiliated herself when she spent my future on a flower wall. Dad jogged up behind her, panting. We need to go. People are filming. Mom spun on him. Do something. He looked at me, then the crowd, then back at her. And for once he didn't say a word. She turned back to me. You think this makes you better than us? No, I said, just free. Security showed up. One of the venue managers whispered something to them and pointed at my parents. A second later, they were being escorted off the property. Kaya didn't move. She just sat there, frozen, staring at the screen where her perfect life had shattered. Whitney walked up beside her, quiet, calm. She looked down at Kaya. I hope you make better choices than I did, she said, then turned and walked away. Jonah touched my arm. You okay? I nodded once. Yeah. Inside, the DJ tried to salvage the night with some soft jazz. A few guests drifted toward the bar, unsure of whether to stay or run. I walked back into the tent. Kaya finally looked up. Her voice cracked. Why would you do this? I crouched beside her. Because I begged for years to be seen, and no one looked. You could have just talked to me. I did. You weren't listening. She wiped her face with a napkin. Dylan's gone. Good. I loved him. I stood. Then maybe now you'll learn what real love looks like? She didn't answer. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my wrist. Wait, she said. Is it all true? The mortgage? The money? I looked her in the eyes. Every word. She let go. I walked out of the tent for the last time. The next morning it was everywhere. The video had gone viral overnight. Brutal wedding toast exposes family lies was trending. A gossip blog picked it up, then a feminist podcast, then a legal TikTok creator who broke down the mortgage fraud in a 3-part series. Dylan's company issued a statement by noon. We have severed all ties. Kaya posted a black square with white text. Taking time to heal. Please respect my privacy. Mom deleted her Facebook. Dad's LinkedIn vanished. My phone buzzed nonstop. Calls, texts, interview requests. I ignored them all. Jonah showed up at my door with bagels and coffee. You're famous, he said, handing me a cup. I didn't want fame. I know. We sat on my couch, the news playing in the background. A panel of strangers debated whether I was a hero or a monster. Jonah turned it off. They don't matter. I know. He looked at me. So what now? I pulled out a small envelope from the coffee table. I'm going to the clinic. He blinked. You're still doing IVF? I shook my head. No, I'm donating the rest of the fund. There's a woman on the wait list. Single mom, 2 failed cycles. She's next in line. Jonah smiled. That's beautiful. It's not forgiveness, I said. It's closure. He nodded. You're free now. I took a sip of coffee and looked out the window. Yeah, I said. I really am. The clinic smelled like lavender and antiseptic. Soft music played overhead, something instrumental and hopeful. A receptionist looked up from her screen as I approached the front desk. Hi, can I help you? I nodded, holding out the envelope. I'd like to make a donation for IVF assistance. I was told there's a woman on the wait list who's been trying for a while. She took the envelope, opened it, and blinked. This is a lot. 20,000, I said. Every cent I saved. She looked stunned. Do you want to remain anonymous? No, I said. She should know it came from someone who understands. The receptionist smiled, eyes soft. I'll make sure she knows she's not alone. I nodded and turned to leave. Out in the parking lot, the sun was warm, not blinding, just enough to feel real. Jonah waited by my car, leaning against the door, arms crossed. You did it? Yeah. He opened the passenger side and slid in. Want to drive? I started the engine. Where to? Anywhere but here. We ended up at the beach, the same one I'd driven to the day I found out my account was empty, only now I wasn't hollow, just lighter. We walked along the shoreline, shoes in hand, waves licking at our ankles. So, he said, what does life look like now? I shrugged. Quiet, honest, mine. He looked over. You ever think about trying again, the baby thing? I paused. I think about it. I just don't want to chase something out of grief anymore. He nodded. That makes sense. We sat in the sand watching the tide roll in. My phone buzzed. A message from Hannah. Hannah. Kaya's staying with a friend. She's not talking to Mom or Dad. Just thought you should know. I showed Jonah the screen. She'll be okay, he said. I hope so. He looked at me. You don't hate her, do you? I shook my head. No, I just finally stopped needing her to love me the way I wanted. He nudged my shoulder. You're kind of incredible. You know that? I smiled. Took me a while to believe it. A little girl ran past us, chasing a kite. Her mom followed, laughing, arms outstretched. I watched them for a moment, then stood. Come on, I said. Let's get ice cream. Jonah raised an eyebrow. You? Yeah, I think I'm allowed to want something sweet now. We walked toward the boardwalk, the wind picking up, the past finally behind me. Not erased, not forgotten, just done.